We are live. Welcome to the Window to Our Mind podcast. How are you, Gray?
I'm doing great. Super happy to be here. Kind of excited to talk about some of these topics. It's not something that I often talk about. So, yeah, it's just really kind of exciting. So, happy to be here.
That's funny because me too, I don't really talk often about it, but I've seen many videos out there and they kind of inspired me into making this podcast here. And I think we have a lot of very interesting topic in the next few weeks. How are you, Marvel DC?
Fine for the most part. Yeah, today was a decent day. Not nothing too bad, but nothing incredible. But yeah, so far things been going better for me. But yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. And I've been telling that for a long time because that's the best I can do, and I hope things only go in the right way. So the point of this first entry here is the introduction of the podcast itself. Um, and yeah, I see your mic is on. Gray, do you have something you'd like to share or add?
No, I just wasn't muted.
Okay.
uh, yeah, just still excited to be here.
Okay, that's perfect. I guess now we can go over the first question, and I will answer it last because
Oh,
I basically had the idea of that title, and I'd like to hear about what you and Marvel are thinking about when we bring up the question. So, question number one: what does window to our mind means to you? Starting with Gray.
well, thank you. So it's an interesting term for sure. So, like, kind of, my mind kind of goes in two places with it. So, windows to our mind. Uh, to me, kind of the colloquialism or whatever is like eyes are the windows to the soul or whatever. So that kind of comes up in my mind when I'm trying to think what is a window to our mind. But it's kind of also those aspects of your personality. Some things that you wouldn't necessarily even describe yourself as could be used as a window to your mind, like the way that you're speaking, like the tone that you're using. There's a lot of things that kind of give you a window into somebody's mind. But yeah, to me, it kind of represents this new beginning and this kind of interesting thought exploration. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to see where you kind of took this since you're the one who kind of came up with this title. But yeah, I can kind of see it going in a bunch of different directions. But yeah, I'm interested to find the direction that you were interested in initially. Yeah, I think that's kind of my explanation on it.
I like it a lot, and this is very similar to what I was thinking.
Hey,
Now,
team.
this is all I will say for now. I will let DC answer that, so I can repeat if that can help out forming a response to that. So, DC, what does window to our mind means to you?
for me it kind of is like the psychology of people. Not just us. Where we go into why certain people act the way they do and like what mental disorders they have. It's more I kind of picture it more like that. And this is kind of like how some people like the anti-woke crowd or others like serial killers, etc., and how they constantly behave and act. So but yeah, that's kind of how I picture this podcast being. Like we dive more into it.
Okay. Do you want to add more?
No, that's pretty much how I kind of pictured this podcast being. Like we go into like the psychology of people.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I really like your answer. Both of you made lots of good points, and both of you kind of understood what was the point of this podcast here, and I'm glad. Now, I was thinking a lot about a lot of different title, and that was very hard for me to find something that nobody has thought of, or like in our case, it's WTOM, the smaller name. Um, so I finally came up with these four letter, and I was like, I need to find words to these letters, and I need to find meaning. And I ended up,
So the initialism came first.
yeah,
That's kind of interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm basically a writer. In case some people may not know, so I always come up first with like a name, a title, and finding that title here for this podcast took me a long time because, as I said, many people already created bunch of very smart title here and there. So I was like, okay, window to our mind. So it's at first it was just something I found out, but then I was like, I need to explain it to the viewer. I need to explain it to the both of you because the both of you will most likely be the co-host and most likely be like the other people that will really be involved in the creation of this side by side with me. It's a team effort, and I need to put something clear about window to our mind. So a window is usually something you use to look outside, right? You look outside and you're like, oh, I see the sun, I see the moon, I see rain, I see a bunch of stuff when I look at my window. So this window here in this podcast is to our minds, and our minds is full of a lot of things. And this is part of the charm, and this is why I feel like we really needed to start off with three at bare minimum because we are all different people from different places. I'm from Canada, but I speak French. I think DC is from the States. And Ray, where are you from?
I'm from a flyover state, the middle of the nothing country. Yeah, but from the U.S.
So we come from very similar and different places at the same time. Where I live, people speak French. Where I live, there's a mix of ideas we borrow from you guys and ideas that we kept uh, in our families, in our uh, lineage. If um, you know what I mean. Uh, we are very different and similar at the same time, and uh, this podcast will be a window to our minds. Yes, exactly, Tamat. Yes, I am a French Canadian. Um, and fun fact about me here again, I we will talk about us as far as we are willing to. But fun fact about me, for a long time, I didn't care about speaking English. I was sleeping at school. I didn't give a f. I started caring about speaking English when I was really gaming with American people, and I was like, I need to communicate with them, and I started like watching English stuff and English music and that kind of stuff. So my English could have been much better if I was caring about learning it at school, but I obviously didn't. But I try
Well,
my
that's
best.
kind of awesome, though. Like it's a lot harder for an adult or close to an adult to actually learn it. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can barely speak English. I don't know. I had much of the same type of thing. I had no interest in English, but I was still speaking it. But yeah, that's really interesting. So, out of curiosity, like, how old were you when you kind of started getting interested in speaking English?
Um, it's a bit vague. Gaming started like when I was 12 and 14, but at these age, I was most
Oh,
likely
okay.
playing with people from where I live. I started playing with
Hmm.
American. I was around 15, 16. So it's been like roughly 10 to 11 years that I kind of started caring about learning and communicating with you guys. um,
Well, that's awesome, man. I didn't take the effort to learn French, so yeah, you're better than me. That's awesome, man.
I try my best, and I plan eventually on learning Spanish. That's something I really want to, because I think it's important to be able to communicate as many language as you can if you plan on traveling. There's no way I'm going and make eco or Brazil or Peru if I don't speak their language. um it's just not who I am, you know. But that's a tangent there we are going at, and it's fine. We will have a bunch of tangents throughout that venture we will take on. So the window of our mind is really like us thinking about lots of topics. And this podcast we will have like three big topics. Topic number one, health. um, the health is big. Mental health, physical health. These are things that some people neglect, and it's very important to talk about it. And I neglect both sides, and I admit it. The first thing in the healing process is admitting you have something wrong. And what I started doing is a diet for the last 2 weeks. Now it's my third week. I caught in stuff that I know are bad for the health, and I want to lose weight.
Nice.
So this is the kind of tools I want to use, and I'm the kind of people that's not an hypocrite. I will try my best to do what I tell people to do if I think it's right, and I will do it because I will think it's right. And if I end up realizing I was wrong, because when we evolve, we can realize we are wrong in some aspect, then I will tell people I was wrong, and maybe you should reconsider what I said in the past. That's the kind of stuff I'm the kind of person I will do, you know. Um, so with that being said, um, mental health very important, and this is really close to mental health, because a lot of times you will have an healthy body but not an healthy mind. The lack of that healthy mind will affect your body. You will have hard time sleeping, you will have anxiety, that kind of stuff. Now, I may sound very smart, but I will also place that so both of you know and the viewers they know. I studied a lot after high school. I didn't get any degree because I'm bad at school. I still enjoy learning a lot. Eventually I plan on going back at school, not necessarily for the degrees, but really for the learning experience. And I studied 2 years in special care counseling. um, I did a field work. I was pathetic at it. That's why I realized I like learning about it, but I it's not the right job for me. That's why I kind of dropped that one. But I still learned a lot when you study for 2 years in the field, where you touch to a lot of mental and physical stuff, and when you learn about all of these things, you become smarter. And that's the point of school, I think. Filling your head of everything you can fill it with, and eventually maybe all these things will help out. Maybe eventually you will use them in the future to make people around you better or yourself better. So for 2 years, special care counseling for me, and for like 2 year ish, I also studied social science, which was very interesting. Usually, that cursus is a 2 year cursus. There's the thing, I wasn't picking too many courses because I was also working at the same time. For most of my like after high school, for most of my adult years, I was working lots of jobs here and there, and I was also going at school. So my school may be affected by the fact that I was also working, because sometimes your focus is not on all one thing, and that's what happened with me. Now, I did talk a lot about mental and physical stuff. I will let Gray or DC, whoever wants to go next, talk a bit about these two things.
Mm.
I'm curious to hear what guys are thinking about mental health and physical health.
Yeah, and I'm gonna start. So I'm gonna start with physical health because I'm gonna get more into the mental health later on. So with physical health, yeah, I've been kind of the same. I've been trying to do a lot of runs, a lot. Mainly because according to some like psychology, it's like it's also connected with mental health and is a way to get better. So it's not just for the physical. And besides, I also like running as well. And yeah, it's also again to not sure if running makes you lose weight. That part's always confusing for me, but yeah, for the most part, I do go for runs and go for a walk from time to time. But yeah, physical health is obviously very important because you can obviously increase your metabolism, and of course, it can obviously apparently make you give you a bit more time to live on the earth. But yeah, and that's really all I'm gonna say for physical. I know it's not like a whole bunch, but honestly, I have almost not much to say about physical other than to constantly doing the physical stuff because it's the mental health that I'm gonna go more on to it. But yeah, I do agree. Yes, mental health is very important. But sad part is that there are obviously a lot of people who clearly know they have issues, but clearly don't care. I've met what like a million of these people. Yeah, and even I've started to not care about my mental health, which I know is extremely bad because I know if I don't care, well, bad thing will happen. Um, and that's why I've been trying to just focus on stuff. And yeah, and also I also think I can relate to this a lot because I've been extremely antisocial to a point where I don't think I've even interacted with a single one of my teachers as of right now, and that's something I usually do. And because of that, it's like something a part of me is changing, and I've been more growing on online friends, which I know I'm supposed to have at least real life friends who are in person, but honestly, because of how my mental health has been, I've just been more antisocial. Because of that, um, I'm kind of relaying my story with the podcast because of how I think of this whole thing. But yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say for now, unless someone else wants to add in.
Great. What do you think of physical and mental health? If you have anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, sure. So the way that you'd kind of phrased it before was which aspects of health interest you the most, mental or physical? Um, so I definitely would have said mental before, but I guess I should kind of tell my story, kind of like you did. So I've always been pretty active. I always did like a whole bunch of sports and stuff. I was really physical. Like in high school, I played like football, lacrosse, hockey, and I think I did a year of baseball, but I can't remember. But I mean, like I was always pretty active and everything like that. But I had dealt with mental health issues, specifically like depression. When I was a kid, even I got diagnosed with dysthymia, which is essentially like a persistent depression that doesn't go away. So I don't know. I've always kind of struggled with it, and when I come to think about it, the times that I was a little bit more physical, like when I was actually doing these team sports and stuff, I don't feel like I was as depressed, but kind of in between seasons, it feels like it really kind of got me down, and I didn't exactly realize that that was kind of going hand in hand. And yeah, so they had tried to help me with a lot of like talk therapy and a lot of antidepressants and stuff. I've probably been on everything up until these latest batches. And it didn't really seem to help, but I wasn't looking at everything kind of holistically. I was kind of looking at things one way, like, okay, if I just talk to this person, take this pill, I'll be fine. And it wasn't that way for me. And then eventually, the pills weren't working. I wasn't really doing anything like trying to expand my own mind or my own mental health in any way other than just this talk therapy and taking these pills. But my talk therapist ended up telling me, like, yeah, actually, therapy is not working for you. So we're going to recommend ECT, which is electroshock therapy. So they wanted to, like scramble my brain with two giant electrodes. So that kind of scared me. And I took like a good 10-year absence from any sort of mental or any sort of health of any kind. And it really took a toll on me. It was just before Corona when I finally kind of snapped out of this kind of deep depression that kind of took like I'd say nearly a decade of my life. I just felt like I was moving kind of like a zombie. I don't know. I didn't really have much thought into my future. I was in a bad place, like kind of everything, like career wise, mental wise, physical wise. And because I was so depressed, I just kept neglecting my physical health too. Kind of what I've come to realize, it all kind of goes hand in hand. And after I kind of went back to the doctor a few years ago, he kind of explained to me, like, we have studies on like the success rate of just talk therapy and the success rate of just antidepressants. And we also have, the data when you add physical exercise into that. And it's weird. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it seems like pills seem to help about a third of the people. Talk therapy seems to help about a third, but there's like an 80% chance or something when you combine that with the actual, physical activity. So I don't know. I don't think that they're disconnected, at least in my experience with it. So I've kind of been going on a bit of a journey for like the last 2 or 3 years, and really trying to take back my health and my mental health. I feel like I'm in a good place with both of them. I actually lost like a significant amount of weight through diet, like you were saying, but also just through physically getting up. Like I ended up getting a dog. I think that really helped me. I walk him twice a day now, but yeah, just actually getting out into the sunlight, it helped me so much. I think it was kind of during that Corona time, so I wasn't really getting out, and I kind of felt the depression kind of creeping back in. That really helped. I know, everyone says touch grass, but there is something to that, actually getting outside, as opposed to like I had kettlebells. I was working out inside, but it wasn't the same thing. Something about like just getting outside. So yeah, I started figuring out more ways that I could kind of do more exertion in less time. So like when I'm walking my dog now, use a weight vest. Apparently that burns like 3 times the calories or something. So it's way more effort. So things like that. But I think they're really married from my experience. I know like if I've been injured and I haven't been able to like work out, I don't feel the same mentally, and I can feel myself getting more like agitated by little things. But I don't think you can really have one without the other, and I think that's something that we kind of do in our society, is we kind of compartmentalize these. But yeah, I don't know if I could say that one is more important than the other, but yeah, in my experience, they really do go hand in hand, and you can't really have good health in one without the other. So
Exactly. So I will add a bit more to this that may explain some of why when you were moving around and you felt better and
mhm.
stuff. When you do sport, your brain release chemicals, and these
Yeah,
chemicals gives you happiness. So this is why people that do sport, they are less likely to feel depressed or anything. It's not the key to everything. There are other stuff
yeah,
you can do, and there are other way you can heal from depression. But sport is some kind of seat belt, if you can see it that way. And we will dive deeper into that when we cover that kind of stuff, because as I said, physical and mental health are topics we will have. So now that Gray kind of already answered question number two, I will ask you more clearly the question number two to you, DC.
All right.
Which aspect of the health interests you the most, mental or physical?
It's mental. Mental health definitely interests me a lot more because it goes into the brain, a lot, and how you can see how these people think. Yeah, pretty much it's mental.
Okay, so now I'd like to welcome Cole here. Thank you very much,
hey,
Cole, for your short cameo. You're amazing. I'm glad to
Yeah,
see you.
I don't know how long I'll stay for, but at least a little bit.
How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I was just curious, what this sort of show would be about, so I figured I would at least pop in. I said I wouldn't be really a co-host because sadly I have too much work to do on the other podcasts and then also other people's things. So, but I did say I would stop by every once in a while or join some streams. So, I figured I would join for the first episode as well. But yeah, how has your day been, all of you?
I did lots of errand at home. I did some cleaning and stuff, and I got ready for today's podcast. So I understand everything you said, and I'm glad. I'm surprised. That's a good plus you're there. So yeah, thank you for joining us, even if it's a short period of time. You will get some kind of gist to what we will be doing on the podcast. So now, when it comes to me, question number two: which aspect of the health interests you the most, mental or physical? I'm really torn apart, but I'm just very tempted to say, just like DC, the easy response, which is mental, because I value this thing a lot. And I feel like this is the one thing that m- a lot, a lot of people tend to neglect the most, because there's much more people dealing with mental illness that don't really want to heal or fix it than people that with physical issues. Even if we got a lot of obesity and a lot of fat people, you tend to see people with bad health, but you never see those with a sick mind. It's sad to say, but that's the sad truth. That's how it goes in society.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I would go physical, me, and I'll just
oh,
say why.
very
Because
interesting.
I,
Go.
Please
because
do.
I do value mental more. However, I think a lot of issues with mental can be solved physical, and with also like addiction to stuff. Like basic, it's pretty much just like the best example would be yeah, just like the story of kind of Chris Farley as just an example. But for the most part, I just think like if you get healthier, even if you aren't obese, although that is definitely something you need to fix, and that I've also been doing because I was at one point. And it can fix a lot of like your mental health issues and make that better, and also fix an addiction and everything. So it doesn't fix all of them though, but I think in order to like get the best help, you need to start physical first, and then afterwards with any other mental issues, then you can go there. But I think first and foremost, like if you're at a state where you aren't really working out or anything much, and like you don't even have to be like fat or anything, just like not being active at all, and, or like like having drug issues or drinking issues or anything like that, like that needs to be step one because that can solve easily most of them. So I value mental more, but you should put physical ahead of it if you're dealing with kind of both, and you aren't like very active, then just put physical first because of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Cole more. Just everything that he's saying was, yeah, just spot on, and that was kind of my same experience. I know it's anecdotal; it is just my own personal experience, but I dealt with different psychiatrists and psychologists for years, and I seriously took like almost every antidepressant that was out there until I actually got moving again. I don't know, something about actually physically making yourself do something. I don't know, it changed something, and then it started actually like opening up my mind. And seriously, something about just getting outside really helped. Um, it could also be that I spent a good portion of my time in like the Pacific Northwest where it was super overcast. Um, I don't know. It's nice to see the sun, but I couldn't agree with what Cole's saying more. Just that physical actually kick started it. I didn't actually start to feel like I had a handle on both my mental and health issues until I actually started adding some physical activity into it. And now I don't know. I don't feel right if I'm not like lifting weights or something. It just it's great. So I would say mental is great. It is what I would focus on, but sometimes the only way to get there is through physical. They really do go hand in hand.
Yeah. You made good points, both of you. So now, um, we are into question number three. Which aspect of society interests you the most? And this is as vague as can be because this is the third big topic this podcast will cover. And I want it to be as vague as can be. That was the point of it. I will respond to that after Gray, DC, and Cole answer to that question. So starting with Gray or DC or Cole, whoever wants to go next can go. Everyone is shy. They're like, I don't
Yeah.
want to go first on society.
For me,
Well,
it's because I still need time to think about it, because I
yeah.
don't necessarily understand that question that well.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, could you repeat the question?
I'm
Which
just a bit
aspect
bashful.
of society interests you the most?
Ah. I mean, it's
And
So I
this
hard
guess
to
is
I could
one.
go if it would
yeah,
help the others to
it,
take a little bit of time with it.
yeah. So before you
So
go,
I think
I
for
can help
oh,
them out a bit more. This is also
all right.
why I marked down the four questions. So if guys could think of notes you could take, like improvisation is also great if you're good at it. But that's why like every week I will share to the chat our four big question we will cover this week. So that was the point. If you want to take notes next week,
All
feel
right.
free to do it. So I will let Gray go first.
Yeah, I think there's an aspect. I guess it would be kind of social evolution. So it kind of rests in between kind of sociology and psychology, but I don't know, certain traits that we all seem to have. Like kind of one of them would be like tribalism. I don't know. There seem to be certain reasons why we would all kind of have this instinctually, but I don't know. I guess just looking into ways that we could possibly use that for good. Like we all kind of have this. If you'd go with like identity politics, for instance, there's a way to kind of put people into like tribes. Us versus them. There is a way to kind of use that to, you can talk to a group but make it inclusive as opposed to exclusive. So I don't know, things like that kind of interest me. So I guess it would be the social evolution would be what interests me the most.
I like that response, and I can add a bit more to this. Politics is also added to society itself. So we could one week decide, okay, identity politic, or I don't know, international politic, or the idea of society is it touched upon so many things that's the point of it. And I will specify, since I spoke a bit about that. One of the big rule about that is we will not cover society this way every week because I don't want to turn this channel into a political channel. We can talk about it for sure, and we will. I expect to speak a bit about politics here and there, but there are other stuff we will talk about. That's
Fair enough. And I was
basically
just using that as kind of an example. It doesn't have to be political, like it could be,
yeah.
family versus like neighbors or something like that. Just these weird aspects of it that seem to come from our evolution is kind of what interests me. But sorry for using just politics as the example there.
Yeah, I still wanted to bring this up because I know eventually we will fall into politics, and it's fine talking politics. There's nothing wrong to it. I think it's when you're all about that said politics that when it becomes kind of wrong. Like when you overstate your welcome, and this is why this is only one of the three topics we will have because we will cover other stuff as well. So, who wants to go next?
Well, I don't really have like a specific answer to this, but I'll try to like sum up like one thing that kind of interests me the most, just like looking at society, I guess, is a lot about it is kind of like how people in first world countries, like how they will criticize other like third world countries and dictatorships, and how people sort of there don't have complete freedom, or how they know the solutions to everything, and world peace and the things they need to fix. And also from watching like I guess mediums that we do and stuff but don't. But then in first world countries, like we basically do the same stuff that they criticize everyone else for, and they just don't realize it. Like they'll just like wake up and be like a hamster in a wheel or ants in a colony doing the same thing, and they know like what they need to do to fix the world, but they just won't bother. They're just like they just don't want to, or I don't get it. Just like how they criticize others in many areas when it's like pretty much every human on the planet is the exact same. With that's the best way to kind of describe like what I find interesting about society and its flaws, I think. But I don't know if I like put it in the best way or made much sense, but you can sort of get like an idea of like what I mean to an extent, I guess. Just the hypocrisy of like every country and how they view others, but then they do the exact same thing, and obviously some worse and to different extents, and other humans to different extents, like some better, some worse, but for the most part have many similarities though, and deeper thoughts and everything.
Okay, very interesting response. I like it a lot.
Yeah, like
Um,
I'll pretty much sum this up as well. It's like it's like there'll be a bunch of people who will like watch a video saying we should stop canceling everybody for doing basic things and basic mistakes and that everybody has done before, and they'll be like, yeah, and then the next day they'll still continue doing that. It's like that's society in a nutshell, and it's pretty much everybody, and they'll never change. Like even us right now, we have had still moments where we probably done that stuff, and it's like it's something that will just like never change with humans.
Yep.
yeah.
And it's also
So
the same patterns as insects, which is interesting. But yeah,
so do you have a better response right now, DC, or have you
Yeah.
thought of something? I will
Yeah.
let you go on that now.
All right. So the aspects of society that interest me are actually quite a few, given that how we just had our conversation. I didn't initially thought political stuff, but I thought, yeah, this is something that sometimes interests me. But it's not like like the SJW, LGBTQ, like none of that is more of the like president, prime minister, war, those kind of things, as well as the psychology stuff of part of society as well, and the mentality of people as well. That's another thing also interests me. But yeah, those are like the primary things when it comes to society that really interest me. Like, yeah, those people who like who start wars or do bad things. Yeah, those are the parts of society that interest me a lot.
I like your response. Anything else that interests you a lot in society?
Mm, I think that's about it.
So here's my response. What interests me the most is how you can change it and how you cannot change it. Um, your voice matter, and that's kind of my point of view. That's why I added society to it, because deep down, I will be honest. Deep down, I hope I will influence some people with my voice, not my current voice, but you know what I mean, what I'm talking about. I hope I will help out others, and these others will have that some kind of drive where they will desire to help out others. And when more than one person wants to help out others, this is how you make it better, a better place. Now, I'm not stupid. It's just a podcast, but hey, a guy got to try, right? Um, so trying to to speak about society and how it affects people and how to debunk some of the popular belief that may be harming others or that kind of stuff. That could be interesting. Um, at first, when I was really thinking about society, I was thinking about red pillars, and how interesting some of them are. And some of the things they say are wrong, and it's obvious, but some of the thing red pillar tend to believe and think is actually very interesting to just either debunk because it's easy to debunk or be in support of. Um, so that's how I see it. Now, um, after society, we got a fourth thing: psychology, sociology. This is all part of the mind. Just like mental health and physical health, they are intertwined. Sociology, it's society, it's the science of the society, and psychology, it's the science of the brain. And these are intertwined because they go end to end. You're a product of your environment. That's the idea of both science. So I won't go too far into that one. I just gave you an introduction there, and I will ask that question to whoever wants to answer it first. Which aspect of the mind interests you the most, psychology or sociology? And to really place both really on different term, sociology is how society impact people, and psychology is really how your brain impacts you and how you were raised impacts you. As I said, they're very intertwined. Sociology is really the society,
Hmm.
the science between uh, about people thinking and doing stuff a certain way, and psychology, it's the individual. Society is the group, and psychology is the individual. So this is really to pick them apart and making really different. So who wants to go first on that question?
I guess I'll start. In my answer is, um, my answer is actually going to be, I'm actually interested in both, and here's why. I know it's a little like not the right answer, but I'm going to choose both because with psychology, because of how it's just for one individual person, you can go into the brains and see how he thinks. And I learned this in my psychology class and like how some like psychopaths, their brains don't function the same way like a normal person does, and so that kind of resonates with how they think and how why they're one of some smartest people and why very rarely do they sometimes get caught. Yes, they do get caught, but sometimes it's extremely rare. um and as for socially, well, I don't even know how to talk. um I think it's because it kind of explores a certain group of people, and I'm not talking about like races. I'm talking more like people who do bad things, like a certain group of people who do bad things, and you could go in like and how society affects them, how they affect the society in that case. So that's why I choose both because they both go at the same thing but in a different way. Psychology is more of one person and how they grew up. Sociology is a group of people, how they possibly grow up, etc. So I'm gonna say both.
Very interesting. So, Cole or Gray, who wants to go second on that? Oh,
Okay, well, I would say I am interested in both, but I do like psychology a bit more than sociology. I did find sociology interesting with the, chemistry or formula and pattern and the way of like how that stuff works and plays out in many situations and throughout history as well. History with, different people, groups, countries, and so on, and how things like that kind of work and so on with their upbringings or kind of like even like brainwashed to an extent, pretty much know kind of everything about what makes many people tick when it comes to sociology and how certain people react to stuff or kind of interact. But I will say psychology interests me more though, because I do think a lot of stuff in sociology does have to do with psychology as well, and I think it's a lot more difficult, which I an interest in, which I like, because sociology does have like a pattern at a certain point that you can learn with a lot of stuff. Psychology, though, I think every person is at least a little bit different, and the human brain and everything is just so like insane and difficult to like understand, like, and pretty much impossible for us to understand. So there's always like something new you're going to learn with it, and many things you're never going to learn. And I think that mystery aspect is just really intriguing and trying to like understand each separate person. So I would have to say psychology a bit more.
Hmm. Uh, that's awesome. I like your reasoning for that. So I think I would kind of jump a little bit more towards DC's. I don't know if you'd call it like fence sittering, but kind of that intersection where they meet is kind of what interests me. Kind of that center point. I think I'd be a little bit more on the sociological side, but there is definitely a problem with those types of papers and everything. There is like a replication problem with a lot of it. But there's some really cool stuff that kind of gets more towards psychology. I like a lot of the work that like Dr. Jonathan Haidt has done. He's done a lot of really interesting thing that's kind of it's definitely on the sociological side, but it's kind of like moral foundations and the way that they get this. So it is through survey, so it is definitely more sociological. But a lot of those kind of I don't know. It is somewhat. Psychological, but on a societal level, there are kind of these, I don't know if you'd call them like tropes that we kind of fall into, but definitely kind of a foundation that we all kind of seem to, I don't know, fall into. That interests me, but there are definitely a lot of problems with some of the papers that are in that category. So I don't know. I think they're really important. I think the intersection is kind of where it interests me. And once you get much further to the sociological side, I really lose interest. But yeah, I think right now I'm kind of leaning a little bit more in sociology, but a little less to the far extreme of it, if you will.
Very interesting. Now, this is funny because I asked all of you your response to that, and I was thinking a lot about mine, and I wanted to be the one that sounds different, just because I want to be interesting and pretend to be interesting. Um, so I will go with sociology a lot, because I do think sociology is something that really impacts individual, and talking about that kind of stuff, how society impact the individual, it's very interesting. Um, you get to talk about thinking pattern in a group of person, and what's wrong, what's right, and how to interact with others, because that's the foundation of sociology. So this is very interesting to just analyzing thinking pattern between individual, and sociology does it a bit better than psychology, because it's more like, as I said, as everyone says, psychology is individual. So it's, yes, it's intertwined with sociology, but it's really like how one person thinks, and sociology is how many person think. So that's why I think it's more interesting. Um, so yeah, we covered all four question. Before we move on to the last um, topic, if we can call it that way, the video section, I am wondering if any of you would like to share more or add more on what we already talked about for the last like 50-ish minutes.
Not for me.
Okay, so I really hope this thing will work. We will see. Otherwise, we will pick something in my playlist I am currently building. Um, oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. So we got something in the chat. So be ready, everyone. Cole, I don't hear you right now. Cole, are you there? Maybe plug, unplug, or maybe leave and come back.
Yeah, we can't hear you, sir. Oh no. Okay. I'm
Okay.
sure I'll be back.
So here's the premise of this video. Um, I plan on making a third YouTube channel, and on top of that, I plan on making this podcast for quite a long time. So I decided, why not exploring the depths of TikTok? Cole, can we hear you now? Try to talk. Cole, we cannot hear you, sadly.
Oh no. No Cole.
No, we lost Cole. Maybe if I do this and that. Okay, that's fine, Cole. If you want, you could try with your cell phone. That also works. But if you gotta go, that's fine. Okay. Was just trying to ask what question one was. Well, okay. Um, question one was in the chat. So it was. Let me look back. What does window to our mind means to you? That was the first question. Since we got technical issue, maybe try with your cell phone. Fair enough. We'll talk later. Okay, perfect. So let's put that short issue. Oh, okay. Take care, Cole. Take care. So that was Cole, our co-host in our Red Blue podcast. Very dedicated, amazing guy. I consider him a very good friend. For the last year, he's been side by side with me. Thank you, Cole, for just dropping by. That was very fun. So, in the preparation of this podcast and my third channel, I decided I'd look around TikTok because I've seen many stupid TikToks, and this is hilarious.
Good.
Just like type TikTok, like stupid TikTok, you will find like many pages of stupid TikTok.
Yeah.
And I will be honest. The first few I actually took, I haven't listened to each one of them because I didn't really know how to how I would present them. So it's like when we cover them, it's like me watching for the first time and trying to listen and understand. So maybe some of these TikTok are actually smart, and this will be fun to cover smart stuff. But I expect a lot of it to be stupid. Um, so
Well, I like stupid stuff. It doesn't have to be smart, but yeah, so far your questions were smart, so now let's see some stupid. That sounds fun.
and basically the point of this part in the podcast, basically, we will either debunk what they say in the video, or we will approve what they say. And it's not a matter of the entire panel needs to agree. No, we are different people. I like diversity. If we all sound the same, that's fine. If we are all different, that's fine as well, as long as it's authentic and we are being honest. I don't want to sound like a SGW echo chamber where we have these guideline we need to hit, and I don't want to sound like a anti-woke crowd that only wants to bring some hate there. I just want us to be honest about what's going on. If we disagree, we
Nice.
disagree, and that's fine. So what do you want to add to
That seems
this?
rare. I like that a lot.
What do you want
I
to?
think that sounds like an awesome mission.
So you agree with that, right, Gray?
100%. Yeah, that's. I actually have a show on my channel called Just Be Honest. It's kind of the exact same idea, and then I have another one called I Could Be Wrong, which is kind of a debate or conversation one. I couldn't agree with what you're saying more. I think exposure to ideas just helps everybody. It either strengthens your own idea, or it shows you where you were wrong. I really enjoy that, and it's awesome and refreshing to hear you say that.
And I will add more to this because you mentioned two of your things. Right after we met on Dark Kitty stream, I actually looked into your channel because I've seen you in the past, and I was intrigued. So I clicked Be Honest, and I liked that podcast. I've seen bits of it here and there of everything you have, like the most recent stuff, and I liked what you're doing. That's why I was like, man, if you accept to be part of this window to our mind podcast, that will be a blessing, and I'm glad we are on that same kind of page. So what do you think of that,
Yeah.
DC? We don't want to sound like an echo chamber. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree because it's kind of like when the Red Blue Pod is like we all have different opinions and we don't attack each other. Which that was the whole point of the pod of both this podcast and of course this one, or at least one of them. It's not to sound like the same person like a million times over and over again.
When someone watched a stream with a bunch of people, what used to be the thing is they watch for each individual, but now I feel like a lot of the streamer out there, they want that kind of echo chamber because they like when people are saying the same thing as them, and I feel like this has divided lots of communities, and I think it's sad. Why can't we just all get along if we are freaking different? Like human beings are different. Like yeah, that's how I see it. That's why I'm very sad, and I'm glad we are from different upbringing. We have different belief. That's that's wonderful. That's being what I consider a centrist, and it's not the definition of right or left leaning people. It's really like you look up centrists. They really lie in between, and they are willing to see each side. Will they agree? Not necessarily, but they will see both sides. So
Yeah. Um, I agree. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with that title, though. I don't know. A lot of people misinterpret that as like you won't take a stance on anything, and I don't think it's necessarily that. Just you're not necessarily on a team.
yeah,
I don't know. We could all look at it differently. I'm sure, though. There's about a million definitions of centrist, but yeah.
yeah. So here's the video. I got a bunch of them, but we will see how long it goes. Maybe we will only cover one video. Maybe we will cover two. Uh, we will see how it goes and how much we enjoy debunking or laughing at that kind of stuff. So now I really hope it will work. Okay. So
Yeah, there's a lot of build-up now, so
yeah,
pressure's on.
yeah. So I click here. Hide.
Oh no, I don't think it's sharing audio. Unfortunately, I don't think we're getting any audio for the video.
Really?
Yeah, I know there's like a couple different ways you can kind of share it through here. I can't remember exactly how.
Now I'm a bit sad.
Oh,
I will
sorry.
try again. Um, maybe if I do this. Do we hear something?
I heard nothing.
Okay. I will try audio. Okay. Uh, I really hope I can find a way. Um, okay, I will delete and bring it back. Maybe that's the thing. There we go. I will try again. Otherwise, that means no sound for the future. But
Well, I'm sure we can figure it out for the future, but I guess it'll be for the present.
yeah, I still have Plan B. I am always prepared. I will try again the
Nice.
same thing. What the? Okay, so present. Okay, window. Let's hope this time around it works.
Nothing.
No
Yeah.
sound.
I know there's like two different ways. Like I know you can like share the tab and you can share the window. I think audio only plays in one of them. I know I kept
Oh,
screwing this
that's
up like
the
the first time I was on
issue.
Kitty's one.
Oh, I see now. Okay, so I know exactly what I will be doing. So for today,
I kept screwing it up over and over again.
but I know what's going on. You're right. So next week I will have these thing in private mode in my YouTube, so I can basically share it through that. So for now, what we will be doing, we will be covering videos I already have seen, um, in a playlist I am currently
Nice.
building for the podcast. Um, so where are you, playlist? You are there. There you are. And I guess we will pick that one because that one is interesting. And I will screen share. Actually, I can try maybe something else. That's the last try. No, okay, it's not there. Okay, perfect. So the playlist, we will pick one in the playlist I created, and now we should have
Nice.
the sound. I hope. So do we hear it?
Where it seems like
We can hear it.
Yep.
It's a little quiet, but we can hear
I
it.
can hear it.
It seems like connecting is the one thing
We will
men
place
and
it
women
back.
in the time that
So I decided to pick that one because I think it reflects very well red pill stuff we will eventually cover. Um, I will also link the the channel of the person, so I will just let it play out so guys can hear it. I already have seen it at least once.
we're living in, where
Okay.
it seems like we're all endlessly connected by social media, it seems like connecting is the one thing men and women can't do anymore. And here's why. Hi y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here. The more I talk about media on this channel, the more fascinated I am by all the different nuances in the so-called culture wars. And of course, with the uprising of complaints about the Force being female, the uprising of the MCU, and of course, all the recent hatred on the Barbie movie, I started looking into really what's going on between men and women online. Now, before you come at me with your torches and pitchforks, this is not going to be one of those videos where I complain about incels for 15 minutes, and it's also not going to be one of those
Okay.
videos
Starting
where I
to sound like
talk
it.
about how toxic women are and how much better I am than all of them either. This is one of those videos where we're going to get to know each other, and we're going to delve real deep into what exactly has gone wrong in our society. Well, with this part of society. If I talked about everything that's wrong with society, I'd be here all year and you guys would get sick of me. So as human beings, despite the fact that I think we all try to be at least a little objective, we're basically driven by our own biases in everything we do. Of course, these biases can get complicated, and there are few biases more complicated than those that arise from the dynamics in the relationships between men and women. These days, only 26% of Americans say they're actually in a committed relationship. And I'm sure at the sound of that, you might think, well, maybe 26% have actually managed to make it into a relationship, but I'm sure way more are actively looking for them. Well, you might be surprised. Young singles who say they are actively pursuing a relationship, only half that responded to a survey said that they had been on one first date in the past 3 months. From my personal experience, I can tell you that I have been on a few first dates in the past 3 months, and every time I walk back to my car after one of them, I realize I should have stayed home and saved myself the f***ing gas. Now you might be thinking, Jay, you miserably picky bitch, of course you're still single. Well, it turns out that women in general in my age range are way less interested in being in a real relationship than men. Only 38% of Gen Z and millennial women actually want to be in a relationship. If you hear that clicking noise, that happens to be my wiener dog who is walking around instead of being in his bed like I told him to. Go to your bed.
3 hours later.
Thank you. So only 38% of young women say they want to be in a relationship, while 61% of men want to be in a relationship. That's literally almost double. I mean, it's not exactly double. I'm bad at math, but I'm not that bad. When I was researching for this video, I was actually super shocked by this fact, because from what I've always heard, women are usually the ones looking for a relationship. And while my opening liner to men on the internet is, hey, how's it going? How's your day been? I usually get a, what that mouth do? In the time that we're living in, where it seems like we're all endlessly connected by social media, it seems like connecting is the one thing men and women can't do anymore. And here's why. One of the main culprits that I want to talk about in this video that's actually doing a better job of keeping us all apart is dating apps. Being that I'm 23 years old, I decided to look more into Gen Z and millennial aged people, and it turns out 74% of the people in this age range actively use dating apps. And worse than that, each and every one of these people spends an average of 2 hours daily using these apps. If you've ever been on a dating app, it is a cripplingly depressing experience. Essentially, you get pictures of a bunch of randos in your area, you swipe left if you don't like them, which you'll be doing a lot of swiping left, or you swipe right if you do. If it's a match, you get a little tingle, you get some stars, you get sparkles, and hopefully you get rewarded with a coffee date that is most likely to go nowhere. Now I know what you're all thinking. Of course, the ever bitter and ever complaining Snarky J. Of course she hates dating apps, but I actually am not the only one complaining. 90% of dating app users say they're completely unsatisfied with the experience. And that's probably because of what I mentioned earlier. It's all gamified. If you're
Perfect. Okay.
Huh.
So thank you for sharing that, DC. So do you have
Yeah.
something you'd like to share about that start?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of things she says, honestly, I'm like, and I was like, yeah, yeah, she's absolutely right. Um, maybe not, maybe in some cases, yeah, like especially when it comes to the dating apps, because with the dating apps, you almost never know who you're actually talking to. But for the most part, from my personal experience, I do agree with her because like when she talks about how how in her experience, I was like, exactly, and that's exactly how I've actually been feeling when it comes to now dating, because now I don't even not even looking for one, especially because particularly my town, you have to be a bad person just to get a girl's like love and attraction in the beginning, so automatically I don't want to do that kind of stuff. So so that's why she makes a very good point in how some women don't are not getting into men. Yeah. But yeah, I do agree with most of the things she says. Not only in the dating, but that's only because she didn't also brought up the fact that when it comes to dating, you almost never know who can be out because, for example, if I went on a dating app, I don't know who I can be talking to. So yeah, but that's just my take. But yeah,
You say you agree with most of what she said.
yeah,
Is there a
yeah.
few things you disagree on? And don't be shy, man. We are there to support or debunk whatever the way we feel. Uh,
You,
what matters is really what we think, and
yeah,
that's the point of window to our mind.
yeah.
So, is there anything you disagree with on
Like,
what she said?
not really.
Great.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'd like to look into some more of what she's saying because, like, I don't know. I would like to know kind of how that question was asked, where only 38% of women say they're interested in a relationship. It's definitely not my experience, but I don't know. I'm definitely not on the apps or anything like that. So perhaps it is a difference. I am still a millennial, so I guess I would have qualified in that poll or whatever. But I don't know. That's just not my experience. So I'd want to know kind of how they're asking the question, what they're asking, because also a lot of the guys that I know, they're not necessarily looking for a relationship. I'd say definitely more than women. But according to that poll, it was what 68% of men and or no 60 something percent of men and 38% of women. Um, I don't know. I would just like to know kind of where that's from, how they asked it. I would have liked to do a little bit more research into it, but I don't necessarily disagree with what she's saying. I don't have a lot of experience with modern dating.
Okay. Now, guys brought dating apps and modern dating. I will be honest as usual. I am on 4 dating apps, and I have quite a lot of experience with it. I met one of my ex like that, and that's funny because my mother, after she split with my father many years ago, she found someone on a dating app, and now that someone is the husband of my mother, which is my stepfather.
Nice.
So it does work on some cases, but it has more failure than success. And this is very interesting because a few months ago or a few weeks ago, I can't remember when exactly, but I fell by accident into 1 or 2 videos about dating apps, and I learned a lot of very interesting stuff. I hope I did um, share
Did
it.
you learn how to gamify your game or whatever? Do you have like tips now?
For dating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for the dating apps or whatever. Like you said, you learned a lot, like in pertaining to like the overall data of it,
Yeah,
or
the
like
data
how
and
to kind
how
of,
it works. So
or how to hack.
yeah, so I really hope I can find back these videos. Maybe I shared them on my Facebook, and most of the clips you see on that playlist I will share to the both of you as I build it are stuff I already shared on Facebook. So maybe eventually I
Cool.
will find these videos about the dating apps. So what I learned by experiencing it and by seeing some research on it, they don't want you to find someone. These websites, they want
Yeah.
you
Well,
to latch
I
on.
want you to keep going on there.
They want you to just stay there. That's why I laugh kind of hard about the 2 hour thing. Um, it's funny because 2 hour is what I spend on all 4 of them. Like not like I don't spend 8 hours, but I spend like 2 hour swiping on all 4 different ones, and it's
Hmm.
not every day. I only do that.
No, but I bet there's like some sort of psychological thing, kind of like the hunting or whatever. You're going through like, pictures, profiles, like, yeah, that could be a match. I don't know. I bet there's some sort of psychological game that it's playing and kind of rewarding you every time you do that, though. But that's interesting. I didn't think like, yeah, if I was on 4 of them, I'm sure it would be like 2 hours a day. That doesn't seem ridiculous, but wow, I guess I never kind of thought of it that way.
So the main reason why I personally use them, it's first of all, a guy gotta try, as we say it. I want a girlfriend. It's been like 3 years I'm single now. I got many girlfriends in the past, and for the last 2 years I was fine with being alone. But in the last few months I'm like, oh, that could be fun, just adding someone in the mix. And I'm very buzzy, like with this podcast, with Red Blue Podcast. I watch lots of movie. I have my full-time job. I'm someone that's just very occupied, and that may sound crazy, but I don't like my errand at home, my cleanup. I still dedicate time for that. So my schedule is packed, like really hard, and I still want to see someone, and the way I think is going out in bars like what people are telling you to do to find someone. It's not a good idea, and here's why I think it's not a good idea. Um, People in bars are under all sorts of substance, either alcohol or other kind of
Yeah, so
substance.
are people in life, though. I mean, just because you're on a dating app doesn't mean you're not talking to somebody who's drinking or on a substance on the other side.
But I
Yeah,
mean, you never know. That's the thing.
You're not going to the spot, though.
yeah,
I understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I get what both of you are saying, and I agree. Like, you don't know until you meet the person to see. And I have nothing against drinking or substance. And what's funny, one of the thing I did cut for my diet was the beers, because I was drinking on my weekends, but that's not healthy. Beers aren't healthy, and I've been drinking on my weekends for many years. When I was much younger, I was near like I was almost an alcoholic. I found ways to not become one, but um, yeah, you still drink the weekends, and it's not healthy. Alcohol is really bad.
Yeah.
It has a good taste, but it's really bad.
It can have a good taste. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think I've got kind of a similar back history with it.
Yeah.
I have also cut it out kind of for diet reasons, but yeah, also was definitely I think I would be considered an alcoholic how much I was drinking back in the day, but yeah, I tried to live that whole like musician lifestyle, so it was a lot of hanging out in bars and playing. So a lot of times we get paid in drinks. So
Yeah,
I definitely consume too much, but that was way easier than the apps. I've never been able to like have success throwing out a profile, but somebody sees you do something kind of impressive in front of them. That kind of works. So I don't know. That always kind of worked for me in the past, but yeah, I haven't played a gig in like 5 years. So yeah, that's not exactly what I'm doing now.
so
But sorry, you were saying with your apps. So
we will still maintain that bar stuff. So I have nothing against someone drinking or using whatever they use, but here's the thing: it's not the best way to get to know someone. And I
for
am
sure.
a person that wants to be invested with someone else. I want to build something. I'm not there just to have bedroom fun. We won't specify the word because I don't want to be like blacklisted from YouTube, because that's quite easy to be blacklisted from YouTube. But anyway, I'm not there for the bedroom fun. To be honest, it's fun, but it's just fun, like having that meaningful relationship is much better than just having that fun. And that's how I picture it, and that's how I see it. So that's why when people are telling me go out in bars, you will meet people, I will meet people under the substance. So there's like no future there, because they won't be the same. Because when you're under alcohol and substance, the inner you shows up, but most people, they try to hide their inner you, and sometimes they don't even realize it. It's just that they're scared that people will be afraid of them, and people, they also lose inhibition and that kind of stuff under substance. So you really don't know these people in the bar and stuff. Even if the inner themselves is out, that doesn't mean that's their daily themselves, if you know what I mean. and I want to know the daily person first. I want to see how that person is on a daily basis. And as that relationship progresses and you get to see that person more, you start to see what's underneath it. And that's part of the fun. So just going out in a bar to flirt and stuff, I I'm not interested. That's for people for bedroom fun, not for people with relationship and stuff. Because the point of a relationship is getting to know the person and finding out at some point if you're a match or not. And now that goes back to dating app. On a dating app, of course, you don't know what kind of people you will talk to, but that's part of the fun getting know these different people. And if you're like, oh, maybe there's a potential match, then you organize something. You get together, you have a date and coffee date, restaurant date, whatever. And that's the point of that dating app and getting to see different people. Because me, I said it, I'm very busy, I'm very occupied. I don't really have time to like go out on someone suggested in the past, go in a 5 to 7 events. There people are not really wasted or anything, so that could be interesting. And I agree with that person. And eventually I will go to 5 to 7 events. It's like something after work that a lot of people go hang around and they drink uh small percent alcohol. They have appetizer and food and that kind of stuff. It's like meetings. That's the kind of reunion that's good. I think I will eventually try it. That I just don't have the time. So the dating app is the easy way where you just swipe. Oh, that person looks fun. I like it. I like her. I like her. I like her. And then what's funny about it, you get a lot of match sometimes and they don't answer. You type out, you're like, you're saying, hi there. They never answer. Or they answer a month later and they're like, I moved on to someone else now. Like, if you take a month to like reply to me, it's like, you have lots of option and I'm fine with it, but I won't waste time with you because you got lots of option. So this dating app is really like something to filter. And the really bad thing about that dating app is they don't want you to find someone. They just want you to hang around. And the other trap in it, and I fell for it, that's before I experienced everything and I've seen the videos. The other trap is all the payment options. So some apps, they have like upgrade where you have unlimited like, you see who likes you and you don't need to like them and that kind of stuff. Um yeah, right now I'm a bit distracted. That's a bit sad. I'm not that multitask. So okay.
Well, you're just
Um
multi-topic. You're not multitask. So
exactly.
you know.
Well, usually I multitask when I'm in my own bubble, but when I'm streaming like that, I'm no longer multitasking stuff. It's like my focus is on talking well and make myself understood. Um,
I
so
get it.
yeah, so we were in dating app. Okay, so I used to pay for Badoo Premium and Tinder Premium. I paid for these two for like 1 month each, different months.
Did it help? So, like you were saying, like you get to see like who likes you without having to like them back and everything like that.
It did
Did it
help,
have a benefit or okay?
but here's the thing.
That's interesting.
Here's the catch. It did help for me to be seen by more people. I got more match, but that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I got more match, but nobody was replying. So I
Uh,
was using these and I was like, okay, I got more likes, I got more match, but not that many people are really responding. And I was like, okay, I will try with Tinder if that's any different. and it's not. It's not. It's the same thing.
Mm.
Um, the other thing, the other thing that I didn't really consider when I did add these premium is the fact that since you have unlimited like, you will spend even more time on the app. Because what's going on, for example, Badu or Tinder, you have like Badu. I know this one better than Tinder because that's where I met my ex. But Badu on there, each 24 hours, you got 50 likes. So basically, you can like or dislike 50 people, and then you're locked out until 24 hours. Um, 24 hours circle is gone. And here's the thing, when you just have unlimited likes, you can spend so
Mhm.
much time there. And at some point, the filter you place yourself, like distance, age gap, the website decides to extend it for you to just keep swiping. So that was the other
Yeah.
trap. Because me, there's two things for me: less than 40 kilometers because I don't have a car, and there's like where I live, that's a big city, so because of that, I have access to a bunch of bus, yeah,
Transit.
transit, a
Yeah.
lot of transit, so I can travel like a long distance because all of the common transit are amazing where I am. That's like the city is around transit, and this is why like it plays that 40 kilometer uh, gap, because I know I can reach out there even if I don't have a car. And the other like parameter I added was like between 19 years old and 34. And here's my thought process. Eventually, I want kids, and the older the woman is, the less fertile they are, and the more risk the kid will have. And there's a lot of studies on that. And I want to maximize the chance of having an healthy child, like any good parents, you know. And that's fine if the child is not healthy and you did your best. You did your best. It's sad to say, but you did your best. You cannot do miracle. Like you will still love the kid and stuff. It's still a risk you're taking. And yeah, that's why I marked down 18 to 34. And this is funny because when they have unlimited likes, very fast. Like one day was enough for me to like finish all of the people in that age gap, in that distance gap. So I was like, okay, maybe that's a sign I should not pay that premium to like do something else than just swiping and just ending up like using all of that pool of people around me that could be interesting to me. So yeah, that's just a waste of money. Don't never pay for these premium.
I was wondering if those premiums like help any. I don't know. I only kind of dealt with like rudimentary like dating back in the day, like Plenty of Fish and stuff like that. But it's nothing like these apps that are out there today.
Yeah.
But I know I sucked at making a profile, and I never got any traction with anything.
Yeah.
So,
But you get more match and you get to see who liked you. And that's funny because a lot of time when you get to see who liked you, you got the profile to see if you would like that person back. And me, I don't have that many standards. I will be honest there, but the few standard I got, they are something we cannot negotiate on. And a lot of the people that like me, when I get to see their profile, I'm like, there's no way there's a match there. I read out their profile and I'm like, no, um, there's no way I would be interested into that person. And I don't even look at the looks. Like, I had 5 girlfriends. 3 out of these 5 were overweight. One of the 2 that were not. One of the 2 was very healthy, and the other one was very, very slim, like anorexia level slim. So I've tasted everything. Um, and it's not really a standard for me. And when it comes to beauty, I look at the soul of the person. because the body
Nice.
itself will grow old. So
For sure.
that's what you get to see when you're on these apps. You read at what they have to say, and then you try to text them and stuff. Anyway, we went on a very long tangent with dating apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that was very interesting. So, are we continuing the video, or guys would like to add more to what we said about dating apps and stuff?
Uh, that'd be okay if you wanted to go on a little bit more in the video, but
All right.
I feel like there was more topics, but I kind of forgot what to bring up in response to her.
Um, Maybe I can restart it.
I don't think we need to do
Okay,
that. I don't know. I'd be okay with going on a little bit.
okay. So just like what I said earlier, if you guys want to interrupt the video, just let me know. Um,
Deal.
and that's funny because I had parallel with what she said in that video, and I actually forgot some of that. Oh, actually, I remember now.
Nice.
So I got the theory on her 61 men and 38 women based on my experience, and solely my experience as someone I consider myself straight because I'm not into men, but I still accept non-binary people as long as they look like a woman. That may sound weird, but I'm still interested by her because she, even if they consider them, I'm sure that's like biology is one thing, you know. So my experience is most of the women I've seen and a lot of the non-binary people I came across on these dating apps. I specify dating apps. I'm not saying real life or anything. On these dating apps is most of these women on dating apps, they only want bedroom fun. And that's the only thing
Really?
that's the only thing I think is causing all of the lack of matches I may have. And that may sound surprising, but I did swipe a lot of people. And
Huh.
Hmm.
Interesting. That's not what I would have thought, but
a
again, I've
lot
been
of
kind of out of the
them
market for a minute.
only want bedroom fun. And they are straight about it. And I admire that. You're honest. I like that. That's a good strength. Not my thing, but okay, go for it, Queen. Body positivity, you know. S positive. Um, so yeah, my experience is most women, they just don't want commitment, or they previously had commitment, but for whatever the reason, they are no longer with that person. And I say that because I've seen lots of single moms,
Yep.
and I will sound weird and crazy, but single moms for me, for now at least, maybe I will change in 10 years, but for now, it's a big no no. Because of my past, DC knows a bit about it. I'm not that comfortable sharing for now, but eventually we may talk about that kind of stuff, and I will share more about it. But for me, a single mom is a mom that failed somewhere. That may sound judgmental, and I am
Ooh.
sorry if this is, but either she slept with someone she didn't know, which is her fault as well, because get to know someone before giving that key away. It's not a gift. Well, it's a gift, but it's not a gift you should give to anyone that wants it. You should be smart about who you're choosing to mate with. And society, they don't value that anymore. And that's the very sad part about it. That's why for me it's a big no no, single moms. The only moment where if I meet I somewhere, wherever I met the person, the only moment where I will be like, okay, that's a single mom and that's not her fault, is if the father or the husband passed away. That's the
That's
only
the only
moment.
reason. But I mean, like, you've had relationships, so they have fallen apart before. Would you say that you're a failure as like a boyfriend
Yeah,
or as a partner to this person?
yeah.
All right, that's one way that you could look at it.
The
I don't know.
Mhm.
I think you kind of learn from relationships. I could definitely see, actually having a good relationship and growing apart. Um, I don't know. I feel like that's what. I don't know. I don't feel like my long-term relationships were a mistake, even though they didn't work out.
yeah.
I don't know,
Um, I won't
but
consider mine.
I could see your point of view on it, though.
I don't consider mine as being failure. I learned from everything. Sometimes it was my fault, and a lot of cases I know it's mine, and a lot of cases that's the other person's fault, and sometimes it's both people involved faults.
Yeah.
But
I think usually.
the
Yep.
big change there is you wanted to bring a child in that relationship. That's my issue. It's not necessarily the person is no longer with someone else. It's really the fact that they were willing to get that kid out with someone they didn't know well enough. And that's
Yep.
also the man's fault. Because sometimes the men they just want to enter that key and leave. And these men are trash. I will say that. Based on my experiences, use protection if you don't know well enough to go, or if you're not ready to have a child, use protection. That's how I see it. So single moms, like, I'm sorry, but that's on you. That may sound rude, but that's on you.
I don't know if that's fair. Like, if you just
Um.
have, like a husband who's cheating and lying, but like they put up the facade that they are like a good person and actually into this relationship, then it turns out, they're cheating on you with their secretary. They leave you for like a younger woman. I don't know if that's necessarily your fault. I don't know, man. I just think it's a little bit harsh. I understand what you're saying, and you're totally in your right to say, "Hey, I don't really want to be a step parent right now," or however you want to say that. Like, that's not what I'm interested in. No big deal. But I don't know. I think it's a little harsh with the whole like you're a failure if you have a kid and you're not with a partner currently. I don't know. I think it could be the partner's fault.
I mean.
It could be.
Also, people
Yeah.
develop mental health things in their early 20s. Like, say you get married as a teen, and all of a sudden, like your partner is a different person, like literally.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's a failure in your relationship. That is like a really big hurdle that I don't think anyone is, supposed to stick with somebody because they were a different person in their teens. But I totally understand what you're saying, and I don't think you're wrong. Just a little harsh. That's all.
I'm honest and brutally honest.
Yeah.
So I get your point, and I know I sound really harsh. I know it. It's just like I learned from a lot of sources, a lot of people, and I know maybe I will slip in the future. Maybe I will fail the same way that single mom did. But so far, I didn't fail the same way. I failed my relationship in the past, but I didn't fail any kids. I don't have a son. I don't have a daughter. So far, I haven't failed any kids. That's more like my thought process. That's why maybe in 10 years, I will be the single dad, Maybe I don't want that. I will do everything I can to stop that. I want, if I get the chance to have kids, I want a two parents household. That's how I see it. So that's why, like, yeah. I think I spoke enough about that. Anyway, in the future, we will cover that again.
For
Mhm.
sure, that's an interesting topic. I would like to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I would be interested to explore it.
Same.
Yeah. So we will move on with the video.
Actively looking for a relationship, the apps don't want to help you. They want to keep you on the apps, and they want to keep you desperate enough where you'll eventually start paying a premium membership in hopes to finally delete them. But they know that you're basically just going to be trapped in an endless cycle of swiping, maybe deleting it because you found somebody interesting. That interesting person turns out they just want to suck your toes and you're uninterested, and now you've got to re-download the app. It's basically a nightmare. That might have been way too specific an example, but I think you guys know I'm speaking from the heart here. It's honestly a mystery to me why we're even putting ourselves through this, because it turns out that 72% of millennials are actually single on purpose. It seems like most millennials are traumatized enough by the economy and the state of the world we're living in where they want to be more focused on their studies, on their work. They maybe don't have the money to take anybody out, or they just want to clap as many cheeks as possible without having to meet anybody's mama or pay for any matching Christmas pajamas. But those people are not relevant to this video. We're not worried about the folks trying to collect bodies like Thanos collects Infinity Stones. We are here to talk about why the people that want relationships just can't have them. Only 47% of millennial women actually care about the looks of the man they're talking to. I know for a fact that I personally would let Robert Pattinson get away with way more than any of the Florida dudes crawling into my DMs with weird pickup lines based solely on the fact that the dude is gorgeous. But apparently only 47% of millennial women prioritize a man's looks. Interestingly enough, over half of millennial women are interested in what job a man has. So for a society that is actively calling for the erasure of traditional gender roles, millennial women are still worried about what a man does for a living. You know why? Because we don't want to pay for our own f***ing dinners. If you're asking me out, you're the one dragging me out of my house. You pay for dinner.
Well, I think you're muted, sir.
I've seen you opening your mic. Do you have something to say?
I was, yeah, I was just wondering. So I'm kind of wondering where they get this data from, and maybe it's geographically specific to me, but that's not my experience with like all the women that I've worked with or am around. They do seem more interested in actually having a relationship, actually like having kids at some point, not just clapping cheeks. But she does say like she's in Florida or something, so that could be specific to like the region that she's at. Perhaps it could kind of change, but I don't know. It just seems interesting to me, and then I'm not necessarily seeing where she's getting that data from. And again, I'd like to kind of see. So this is specifically talking about millennial women now, and I mean, what age range would they be? That would be up to like 40 now, but somewhere like 20 to 40. So I don't know. I think a lot of them would want to be in relationships, and I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone like had the misconception that women were only interested in looks. Like it's kind of a trope that that's what men are interested in, not women. So I don't know. The fact that it's like 50%, it's like that seems about right. Like I don't consider myself a looker, and I've gotten quite a few dates. I don't think they're as interested in looks as a lot of men are.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem super strange, but I'd still kind of like to know like what the sample size is, what question they're actually asking them to find out that like 70-something% of women don't want to be in a relationship. I don't know. It seems odd to me.
I will add more to this, but I will let DC go first.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to the data part, I think it's from her personal experience and all the guys she dated. Because I'm gonna give a quick example. All the girls I had a crush on, about almost all of them, apart from one, were terrible, straight up terrible. And because of that, it kind of made me realize, that's one reason I don't want to date anymore, at least not now.
But you got a type.
Wait, what?
Apparently terrible. You got a type. You said all of them were. I mean, it might not be helpful, but
I mean, only one of them was at least the best out of the bunch. But that's about it. Even then, me and her are not friends. So because of that, I don't really consider it good. But like it's probably, and I'm gonna straight up say, I think 99% of the girls in my town are terrible, and they're the perfect example of looks do not matter, because there's a lot of guys in my school who look terrible, and yet a lot of girls are really like these guys. So that's where I think that's why I do agree with you, Gray, that it's not that some cases looks for women don't really matter. But and this is just from my experience alone. But and I think I said all of that I was gonna say. Yeah.
Okay, so I will add a bit more. So, Gray, your experience with women is different than mine, and the one I heard about a lot in my circles in real life, because I'm a social person. I talk a lot to my coworker. I know them very well. Well, very well. I know what they want to show me. Um, Now, I will ask you something that may sound personal, but right now, are you someone that's fit, or just like me, you have some weight to lose? No
Um,
details, just
I'm
fit
on
or
my way to getting there. I would not consider myself fit yet, but
okay.
yeah, I've put on a lot of muscle in like the last 2 years. I'm still going for it. I in the best shape I've been in like I don't know 15 years, but I wouldn't consider myself fit yet. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's very interesting. So now I will explain something um, based on my experience. Most of what I say here today is based on my experience. In future entry in more important topic, let's say uh, burnouts next week, um, I will come up with a bit more research stuff. I still know a lot of things about burnout because of my 2 years in special care counseling, but
definitely
as of
interested in that topic. I would love to hear what you have to say on that. I also want to do some thinking on that.
yeah.
Looking forward to it.
So I will post again all of the topic I thought about for this month at least, and for November, since we kind of started with me deciding stuff, I will talk with you and DC about November, the schedule, the planning of the topics. Um, so that's how we will work. That's why I'm like, we needed to be three to do such thing, and I'm glad both of you accepted. So that's based on my experience now. When I was slimmer, because there was a time where I was fit, it was easier for me to get girls, much easier than now. And I had what's very interesting. I had much less self-esteem because I was younger.
Really, I was going to ask, was that kind of a thing? Because I know my self esteem went away as like my depression grew heavier and heavier, and then I got heavier and heavier. But yeah, I was just wondering because that's interesting. I would have thought maybe you're more fit or whatever, you have more self esteem, and then it kind of lowers. But that's awesome that you're able to find a way to get more self esteem. I'd be interested in that subject, but sorry, I cut you off. Please keep going.
That's fine. So I this will be eventually in psychology aspect self-esteem. That could be a topic in the future. But all I will say here, without going too deep into it, my childhood and my teenager years were freaking rough. My first 6 years were amazing, but from my 6 years upward, my life kind of changed and it got messy. A lot of things happened, and a lot of things broke me. I did depressions in my late childhood, early teenage years. I had really bad self esteem, and I had a lot of issues, mental health, and everything. Even my body, even if I was slim, I wasn't healthy. Um, and yeah, when I was younger, I had really low self-esteem, and this is something I worked on a lot because I realized how bad this is. When you don't have self-esteem, you have hard time accepting other people compliment, even if they are genuine and honest. And
Yeah,
this
I
is
definitely know that.
Yep.
this is really bad, and this affected my trust toward others. This affected my mental health. Self-esteem is essential, and this is something that must be built at a very young age. And this is why I say my first 6 years, usually you don't remember these 6 years, maybe that's why I speak highly of it. But I remember lots of issues I had later on that treated that self-esteem issue. And as I'm older, I did a lot of retrospective on my life, my choices, what happened to me, the circumstance that led to stuff. I'm someone that was always reflecting on stuff. I'm someone that's very introvert because I think knowing yourself is essential. That's the only way you can grow and become better. I'm still interested a lot by others. That's why I'm glad to have these podcasts with other people. But at my core, I'm someone that's introvert, and most of my lives was about growing up and understanding myself. And I understood many things, and I'm not the same guy as 5 years ago. I'm not the same guy as last year ago. Like I changed a lot, and I know I will be changing. That's how it is. Um, so I had really low self esteem, but I had a good physique. And in that time stamp, I got three girlfriend in a row. Then the second one kind of broke me, and I started gaining weight. Without going too deep into it, but I started gaining weight. But when it came to the third one, I was still like relatively healthy. I wasn't as good as when I had the first two and I was hitting the gym because I was going at the gym back then. And with the fourth and the fifth one, I was much more heavier and I had self esteem. Like I started having better self esteem around uh 20 years old, 21 years old, and making music helped me a lot. Making connection with other people and and being the older brother because I have sisters and brothers that are younger than me, and taking care of them and seeing that my people were valuing me helped me with my self esteem because I changed. Anyway, I was maybe 20 years old when I started having good self esteem, and at that point, I was starting to get overweight, more overweight, and more. Um, so yeah, that's ironic because I was slim, I was looking good, I was getting girl, even if I mentally I wasn't fit to have a relationship at that point because I was too young. I did like self esteem because self esteem is very important. Uh, if you're into a relationship and you don't have self esteem, sad to say, but good luck for your partner to accept to hang around you. Uh, that can be demoralizing when you value someone that doesn't value themselves the same way you value them. Just saying, just planting some seeds there. So that's the irony there. I needed to be fatter, more mature to learn that kind of stuff.
I don't have to. I have food at home. Now, on the other hand, less than half of the men who responded to the same survey claim to care about what a woman does for a living, which is really interesting considering how many men I've scared off by mentioning that I'm a YouTuber. But, anyways, a much more shocking number is the fact that 70% of men who responded to this survey, 70%, said that they prioritize a woman's looks. Now, these priorities, of course, lead me into the top 3 deal breakers for people when it comes to relationships. Number one, which should surprise nobody, is being disheveled, unkempt, or unclean. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can afford a ticket into Comic Con, you can more than afford a $3 container of deodorant. Being unkempt, unclean, disheveled, it doesn't necessarily mean only that you're unhygienic, right? It doesn't mean that the guy or gal shows up with their teeth unbrushed and wearing last week's unwashed clothes. That's not just what it means. Notice unkempt and disheveled are part of it. I cannot tell you from personal experience how many dates I've been on where the dude shows up in slides, or my favorite combo is when he shows up in basketball shorts and a big t-shirt like he's about to go meet his boys at the park in his dirty ass creased Jordans. What happened to men dressing up to impress the girl they're going out with? If you're gonna show up like you were at a 5-year-old's birthday party, it's not gonna happen. The number 2 biggest deal breaker is being too lazy, and number 3 is being too needy. I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions about those. You know what though? I think that all of these are just contributors to a bigger problem that nobody's really talking about. With the uprising in girl boss messaging and basically any form of media, women these days are being told that we are at our best when we are completely on our own.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
To need, want, like, or even tolerate a man makes you so much less of a woman.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937. That
She's
is
not going to be
yeah.
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
If you say yes to, say, a coffee date, and you let the guy pay for your frappuccino, and he opens the door for you and walks you to your car afterwards, well, that basically means you've just dropped your womanhood at the door of the patriarchy and enslaved yourself to men forever. Being sexy isn't just about being strong and independent, it's about being argumentative, alone, and completely against men as a whole. In fact, just a few weeks ago, a supermodel by the name of Emily Ratajkowski made headlines because she said that there was nothing more fabulous than being divorced in your 30s. Who the fuck makes getting divorced in your 30s
I'm
a
guessing someone who's divorced in their 30s. I don't know.
I will add more to this.
Yeah.
I think people are that are thinking that, just like what you said, are divorced, and this
Yeah.
is one of the reasons that goes back to what I said about dating single moms. A lot of them are proud. I
Yeah.
didn't let that man have the last word. I had the last word.
Yeah. And I will actually say something when she says how some girls that don't like to see guys in like dirty like stuff or like basketballs like stuff. I'm just gonna straight up say it. In my town, that's not a thing. A lot of girls like that stuff, so it's like, yeah, you have to dress up like that in order to get girls, as well as having one of the worst personalities and doing some terrible things just to get a girl. So, not saying she's wrong, but in my town, it's not even a thing over here. I mean, yes, some bad people do dress up nice just to get girls' attentions, but for the most part, they don't dress up nice at all. So that's all I was gonna say as well.
Do you have something else to add more, Gray?
Um, not too much. I think you guys kind of hit on it, but I don't know. I think the least you could do is like, not show up in dirty clothes. I don't think I'd be too impressed if, my date showed up in dirty clothes or anything like that. But I don't know. Perhaps if there was a story to go along with it, like, sorry, this meant so much to me that I didn't want to be late or cancel. So this happened. I don't know. I could see making an exception. I wouldn't just, you know, cancel the date or be like, this is over because she has creased Jordans, is what she was saying. I don't know. I think I would definitely overlook shoes or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not sure that that's the biggest issue with most relationships is like somebody showing up in dirty clothes or whatever. I don't know. I've never really put too much stock in necessarily what the person is wearing. It's kind of more like, oh, like I do not get along with this person. Like I don't want to hear anything more from what they're saying. So I don't know. It is more like an actual interaction with a person where I'm not hearing that information. And I don't know how you'd know, like on a first date, if the person's too needy. I guess if they make you hand them, or if they make, if you have to hand them everything or get it, I don't know. Like even then, I think, you wouldn't necessarily find that out right away. All of those like deal breakers or whatever.
And I will add something here because I was thinking of that as you guys were talking. I don't want to attack Snarky by any means, but I will say maybe that's more of a societal thing, but or complain about these clothes and the way people are dressing and then the smell and that kind of stuff. It's very superficial. And that goes back to a lot of women, not all of them, a lot of them, that's the big nuance, will be superficial. And I think this is really sad. And it also showcased that they do stuff like wearing makeup, doing their nails, because they think that makes them look good, and they think men are looking into it. And as a man, I see that kind of stuff sometimes. Makeup, I never notice it, but I see nails, and I won't say, "Oh, that's my woman because she has the right nails." Nah. As a man, I think we are less superficial than women because we don't see every man parading with makeup and nails hoping to get someone because of our looks. On top of that, um, I have a blank there. I lost my train of thought. Um, yeah, I just think a lot of people told women, society told women, you need to look good. You need to buy this beauty product. You need to wear that red lips. And that's funny because today I had seen a video talking about beauty products that are considered toxic because of of the chemical used to make them, and red lipstick is one of them. But let's sell all these beauty products. Um, yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, women in general, they are more superficial than men, and that may sound sexist, but that's the reality. And
Yeah.
I know some men that are superficial. I know like two that came across my mind. One of
Yeah.
the is one of my co-worker. He is really a great guy. I get along very well with him, but he is very superficial, and he is like, that girl is looking great. That guy is looking great. I would f that one, but not this one, or that kind of stuff. So there are men that are also very superficial, but I just think there's less of them. I may be wrong on that, but there's less of them. Um, I don't consider myself superficial. Among the five girlfriends I had, I'd say there are only two that were really good looking. But they what appealed to me in their looks wasn't uh it wasn't their looks. It was their personality that talked to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the same with me, and also the personality as well as honesty. And out of the many girls I had a crush on, or four girls, it was just one that was the one that was good, or at least the one that was out of the four was the best. She was also the only one who had the best personality and the best and was the most honest. And yeah, and that's all I was gonna say. So I do understand. I would also add honesty as well. Like, they're straight up never lying, whereas others, you can kind of tell that when the more you think about it, doesn't make sense later on. But yeah, I want that honesty as well.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Gray?
No, I think I'm ready to keep going if you guys are.
Okay.
Life goal. The connections men and women have made with each other have literally turned the wheels of history since the dawn of time. So why fantasize about tearing it all down? Sure, we need to break these glass ceilings, but does that mean we have to completely alienate ourselves from men? These days, women are told that empowerment comes from selling pictures of your tits on the internet. And that's not to say I criticize any woman who does profit from an
I paused here because I want to criticize that. Um, I I agree with a lot of things she said, but I'm fully against OF, and you know what I'm talking about. Or I will mark it down here in the private chat.
No,
Uh,
we I think we all know what you're saying. It's
so
a
I
certain site for fans.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so I'm against that because a lot of women, and I know a woman that does that, and I know the person behind it because she used to be one of my coworker, and for a time until I admit I had a crush on her, we were friends. Now we are just in contact. That crush wasn't both sides. That was only on mine. I liked her more than a friend, but she only liked me as a friend. Anyway, I know that person very well, and she has a really sad story I won't share because that's not my place to do such thing. But that very sad story pushed her into OnlyFans. And when I've seen she started doing that, oh, I just mentioned the thing. I hope YouTube won't notice, but she started doing OF, and the first thing I did as a former friend, I still consider her a friend because I'm someone that, even if I don't talk to you that much or that often as I used to, I still value you and your existence, what you mean, what you meant. We still spend good time together, her and myself. So I still consider her a friend. I don't think she does consider me a friend, but I still do. And when I've seen her as someone that value her a lot, starting that OF, um, I told her, look, do you know the risk of doing that? I've seen many videos and it's a bad idea. And she told me I don't care. I was like, I didn't want to offend, but it's obvious by her response she was offended by it. I think it's wrong that when someone tries to help you out, you get offended over it. I've seen a lot of videos about how bad OF is for content creator and for the people buying into it.
Yeah, I could just see if you think it's like your only way out of the situation, and then, you know, I've definitely done. So I haven't done an OF or anything like that, but I don't know. Like I've taken like jobs at places that I didn't want to work at, and that I was ashamed of working there, and people were telling me like, you know, you should just not work there. And it's like, but I literally have to make rent. Like if not, like what's, you know, like I have to pay this by the end of the month. So I don't know. I've definitely done things that I'm not proud of. Okay, so it was working fast food, but yeah, I you know, I was like a teenager and I didn't really want to be seen there or anything like that. But I had just moved out, and it's like, well, I gotta pay for this place. I can't just like you know, whatever. It wasn't exactly going into this, but I don't know. I know I had people kind of like pushing on me, like you shouldn't work there and stuff. I don't know. I was just in that headspace that like this is my only option at this moment in time. Like you're not offering me a job right now. I don't know. I could understand being headstrong in that situation, not seeing it as somebody was trying to help me and trying to tell me like, yeah, you're limiting your future potential by doing this. Like what you're spending in this short term is actually going to hurt you in the long term. I wouldn't have been willing to see that at the time. So I don't know. Perhaps your friend was kind of in that headspace.
Yeah, very interesting response. And maybe I have psychoanalyzed too much, but um, I will ask you: were your parents judgmental toward fast food worker, or were your
Yeah,
friends?
they definitely would have been. I was just trying to get the hell out of there like as fast as possible. So I didn't want like any reliance on them or anything. So but yeah, I knew that they definitely wouldn't have approved at that or anything. I don't know. I had a crappy call center job. It's like, oh yeah, I'm making good money or whatever. And then yeah, I just yeah, that didn't exactly work out, and I needed a job like right away. So yeah, wasn't exactly great, but still, you know, the limited amount of shame that I felt from, you know, like seeing people I knew walk in there and people that I like graduated with walk in there, you know, that's minuscule compared to I'm sure the type of shame I would feel if you know,
Selling.
I had gone into the same line of work as your friend. I could just imagine, you know, like yeah, so I just went a weird way in that, like, oh, I haven't thought about this person forever, and they just subbed to my page. That's weird. Like that would be super strange if you know, people you know in real life randomly found your page.
So I brought that up because shame is something normal because a lot of people deem something wrong, and you do that thing wrong, so you don't feel comfortable because someone told you it was wrong. But if nobody told you it was wrong, then there's no way you can be ashamed of something. That's how
Yeah.
it goes.
For sure. That's probably where my hang up came from. But yeah, I definitely felt the shame, and it wasn't like people putting that on me at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how shame works. It's sad to say, but it's how it works. It's your surrounding, the people around you, your family, your friend, your co-worker, that kind of stuff. And here again, that goes back to sociology and a bit psychology, but a bit more sociology than psychology. So there we go.
OnlyFans or one of these subscription services, look, more power to you. I don't have any of those services. I don't sell any of that sort of stuff. And that's why I have to be here on YouTube making videos and praying that I make enough money from ad revenue to pay for gas for my car. But we've come into this weird societal space where women feel empowerment basically just means holding their bodies above all else. Men are to be utilized as piggy banks, kept at arm's length, and never to be considered as life partners or anybody worth listening to. It's not men and women, guys and gals, it's not even me and you. It's just queens and simps, and it's honestly really gross. From my perspective, female empowerment does not look like a $4.99 subscription service to nudes. I think a lot of men, especially in my age range, basically just look at women like commodities. Women are basically just in the business of being bought and sold, therefore men don't find it worth making connections with them.
Okay. Um, I will already debunk that. Um, this is clearly coming from a woman. We are three men, right?
Yep.
Do you think,
Yes.
DC? Do you think women are commodities?
Mm, probably from my experience, yeah, but not all of them. But from my experience, yeah, some of them.
And why would you say that? Is that their behavior or your thought pattern?
Behavior. Yeah, mostly behavior.
What kind of behavior? Except if it's going too far into it, but what kind of
Mm,
behavior? And that's fine if that's a boundary you don't want to cross. Just letting you
mm.
know.
No, it's fine. Besides, these people are some of the worst, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the way I'm gonna just strip say it is crazy and nonsensical. That's the closest I'm gonna get, because it's true, you know.
Why?
Um,
Why? Do you have backup to say that?
it
What would
does
be
go
the
on.
the behavior? What would be the
Mm.
int at that kind of stuff?
The reason
What did
why,
she do?
mm, the reason why I say it's from my experience because of the fact that like majority of the girls in my school in my town, I may refer to my town for obvious reasons because of the fact that all of the girls have the same pattern behavior. You know, they don't necessarily like good people; they like really bad people, and and eventually, and from my experience, because when something bad happened to me and the girls did nothing, or at least did didn't do anything, that's kind of where, in my opinion, they're so committed to just specifically some of the worst people of all time and don't care about the actual good people who do want, who arguably need help, yet they care more about the people who don't even need help and shouldn't even get attention. That's kind of from my experience on how committed they are. And also, seen it many times to a point where I'm like, yeah, I definitely can see it. That's kind of one of the reasons why, back in the Red Blue Pod, one episode I say I'm kind of worried my town will become the next Gotham Cities because of that, and because of the fact that yes, yes, there are girls who would do bad things. Amber Heard's the best example as of right now. But at the same time, even look at the people, the girls in my towns, like they're not that much better. But yeah, that's kind of how I wanted to express it all. But yeah,
Okay, what's your take on
Uh,
that? Are women commodities like she says or thinks?
um, so, uh, I do want to answer that. So I would say no, but kind of getting to what DC said. I can definitely understand where you're coming from with that. I know there were definitely times in my life where I kind of viewed things that way, especially with like youth. I don't know, just we're so cruel to each other. It's interesting, like those kind of early relationships. I know I was an asshole, and I know I was definitely mistreated in those. But when you mentioned like Amber Heard, like for every example that you could give of like a woman behaving badly, it would be the same as like, every guy is Jeffrey Epstein or something like that. I'm trying to think of like who would be like the worst. Like everyone is Bill Cosby.
David
Y- you
Miller,
know,
Ezra Miller.
yeah, like yeah, something like that. I think there are definitely screwed up people, and that kind of gets into that psychology thing. Um, I think there are definitely screwed up people, and then when substances get involved, it gets even more intense and even more screwy. But as for like the commodity thing, I don't know. I guess I just don't see people as commodities. I see them as individuals, and like they're my relationship with every single person is definitely different. Like I just can't view people as like the same as any like wood or whatever. You get this many whatever out of one. I don't know. It just seems strange. Like I wouldn't see people as a commodity. I think again this could be kind of geographical. It sounds like she's in Florida or whatever. If she's like near Miami or something, it is very I don't know, superficial, I would say. So I don't know. Maybe her experience is different, but I I guess I see younger people definitely mistreating each other. Um, I could see, definitely there being more obsessed with like body count and getting your numbers up than actually like finding somebody that you want to actually experience a relationship with and kind of grow and build that. But I just can't see that going all the way up to like 40 because I think that's where about millennials are now. I don't know. I think her view on this might be a little bit limited from her perspective, but perhaps I'm being too optimistic. Maybe it's just people are more focused on families out here in the flyover states.
You see, I like what you said. I'm on board with it. And I can see both sides. I will say, here's my response. A woman is a commendatory only if she sees herself as one, only if she acts like one. That's based on the person and not necessarily the gender. It's based on who you are as an individual. I will give you a good example. Like um, 4 years ago, when I had that crush on the girl, 3 years ago, I had that crush on the girl that started a OF. I was seeing her as a potential mate despite her past. I was seeing the person. I was seeing the trauma. I liked the person because we had a lot in common without having too much in common, and she awoke a lot of feeling, and I was valuing that person a lot, and I cared for that person a lot. And is was she the most beautiful person? No. Was she the best person? No. I just cared for that person. And despite her past, despite everything, I cared. But the moment she told me, oh, I have OF, I was like, okay, so you decided to become that commoditary, or I can't remember the exact word, but you think you're a price, or you think you're just your body, you think you're just that object of lust, and that's her on earth. That OF, nobody made her do an OF. She chose to make an OF. And that goes back to society. That's society fault. They groom people into being broken. That's how it goes. Society breaks people. Um, so yeah, that's how I see it. I value every woman until they prove me they don't value themselves. Why should I value someone if you don't value yourself? That goes back to self-esteem. Why someone would love me when I was 19, 17, and I had no self-esteem? Why?
Yep.
So that's how I see it. And as long as they respect themselves, because I think doing OF is wrong. You don't respect yourself. You just show people, okay, I'm just that buddy. That's all you do, and it's sad. OF should never have existed in the first place. Hell, any corn site, corn, if you know what I mean, they should not have never existed. Opening that bottle was a huge mistake, but people did. So
Can I ask you then?
Not
Sorry. So, what would be kind of the difference? So, I understand, it would be, exposing parts of yourself. But what would be kind of the difference between like looking for a mate via, like the dating apps or whatever? You're still kind of marketing a certain version of yourself. You're trying to put like the best foot forward or whatever to potentially meet that mate. I don't know. Is that a lot different than like OF? Because again, you're kind of like creating this whatever,
it's
like an online persona or whatever.
it's different because the idea of OF is I sell something to people and but
Wouldn't you be selling yourself to like a potential mate though? Like,
I
so for
I'm
OF,
not
you're selling yourself to potential simps or whatever, but
mm,
here you're selling yourself to them. Like, what would that difference be? Is it just this should be personal, and since it's not, I don't know.
I like your question actually. I must think about it a lot, but I liked your question. I don't know if I got a good answer, but I will try my best. But I get that point of that question. I actually like it a lot. Um, Here's what I would say is the difference. Dating app, we both get something together if we get a match. We are seeking to not necessarily approval, but we are seeking to meet other people, and we are seeking to maybe eventually have a relationship with others. And any healthy and good relationship, both party, they must benefit from it the same way. Like there's always a party that will be more invested and that will get more than the other, but it's just natural. It's just the nature and stuff. But both party will try to make their best, to make it work and healthy and stuff. Now, when it comes to OF, it's very different because it's just like a corn site. It's the same crap. You want to show your buddies so Sims can pay for you. Um, you want to show your buddy um, so you get money out of your buddy. The simp, they think they are getting something, but they are not really getting something. It's more of a transaction. I will say that. Now I think I got a better response to give. OF is a transaction. You give me something, I give you something back. The dating app is not really a transaction because
I hadn't thought of it
we
that way. That's interesting.
we like for some people it depends on how you use it. That's an even better way to explain it. So OF, there's only one way. It's a transaction and that's it. The dating app, some people see it as a transaction. Then it's kind of wrong because then they were like, "Oh, I just want to bedroom fun and that's it." And this is as bad as OF because they don't value the other person they talk to. They only value the bedroom fun. And a meaningful relationship is more than just bedroom fun. It's been proven many times around that anyone can get bedroom fun. I got bedroom fun with 4 of my 5 ex. Everyone can. If I can, everyone can. OF is really a transaction, and dating app, it's not necessarily a transaction because sometimes you will try to, for example, like a girl because you think you can make a connection with her, but she doesn't like you back, she doesn't message you or anything. You just wasted a click, you just wasted time on that, if you know what I mean. So it's not as clear. It becomes more of a transaction the moment you match, but if you match, that means both party will get somewhat what they want because both party have their profile on and they say what they want, and if they matched, well, they most likely read each other profile before they click the like. So it's more than just a transaction. That's why I think OF is wrong and dating app are fine. But I think the way dating app are at their core is wrong as well. But using them doesn't make you wrong. It's more like the people behind the app that are wrong, if you know what I mean.
Interesting. That wasn't how I had kind of envisioned that, but I like that answer as well.
So, do you want to add more, DC?
No, not for me.
Perfect. Was I clear enough on my kind of wacky, janky response?
No, I don't think it was janky at all. Oh, sorry. Yes, you were clear. I don't think it was janky at all. That makes sense to me.
Yep.
I was just interested, like, if it was just kind of a, like, if you were going with like moral foundations, a lot of the times it's kind of that sanctity degradation thing. Like, this is, something private or something. I don't think you should share that. I just was wondering if that was kind of your objection to OF, but I hadn't kind of thought of it the way that you described it. But that does kind of make sense. And then, with you saying that, also the transactional part of the dating site would be wrong. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. So I liked your answer.
And I will add more because we are into transaction stuff. One of my relationship was really bad many years ago. That was prior all the work I did on myself. That was in the early stage where I started having a bit more self-esteem. Um, with one of my girlfriend, it started off the right way, but it fell down a cliff very fast because our relationship became very transactional. And that was because at that point I was still not really mature and she wasn't that really mature either. And that's why it fell into the transaction trap. And this is why our relationship didn't work. Well, there's more to it, but that's one of the many reasons why that relationship failed. And at that aspect, I did feel like I failed her, but she also failed me, but I learned from it. And after that one relationship, I really had a different view, and I was a changed person. And yeah, I just wanted to add that on top of everything. Um, so it happens. You will have some miss here and there. Uh, so yeah,
Saying this is right or wrong, this is just an observation that I've made. Men who seem to be traditionally good looking and have an easier time getting a hold of women now look at women like just another notch in their bedposts. Newsflash, sweet
Was that guy supposed to be traditionally good looking? I don't know. Like, he didn't look horrible, but like that's not what he was no, I don't know, Adonis.
yeah. I think I'm with you with that. I guess that's her type of guy. I don't know. um, I think a lot of people that are good looking, some just have good genes, but I don't think they are any different from someone that's bad looking or overweight or anything. I think we are all the same. So the fact that she specified these good looking men, I'm like, think you can find that kind of behavior in bad looking, good looking. Like, it's not because of your look that you will necessarily have that kind of pattern or behavior. So I'm kind of I disagree with what what she mentioned there. That's why I paused again. I think here again, just like um, commodities, it's how you are. Depends from person to person. Um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I'm wondering if DC or Gray would like
Hmm.
to add more to this.
Not for me.
Um, yeah, I think obviously, more attractive or traditionally attractive people would probably have more luck, but could that be kind of more of that self-esteem thing or a confidence thing? I don't know. They don't have the reason not to be confident. I'm not sure, but definitely probably more successful. I could understand how they could be more into that numbers game, but I don't know. I think again, a lot of it's geographical because a lot of the it's like I said, kind of a flyover state where I'm at. So it seems like getting married and having kids is kind of more the goal here. So it seemed more like the attractive people hooked up, got married young. So I think some of it is kind of more of a geographical thing, but perhaps I'm wrong.
I think you make really good points. Now, I see myself when I'm more fit to change a bit of my physical standard, because I will know I value a bit more, but that won't change at my core who I am. I will only change the standard I will have in the future. This I know because when I will be more fit, I will be like I will expect a bit more from the person I'm with, either on personality aspect or even the physical, because I will have a bit more to offer. Maybe that's why right now I don't have such big standards. It's because I know what I have to offer, but I could be offering more. That's how I see it. um, so maybe there's something to it, but I also think that depends on who you are as a person.
Cheeks, a dinner at the Cheesecake Factory does not entitle you to 7 minutes between my sheets. But a lot of guys really have started to dislike women purely because they can't get them. These days, the internet tells every guy over the age of 18 who hasn't had luck with women that he's a loser.
Anything to say to this, DC or Gray? Because I know I do.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree um, with that either, because I don't think age really makes a difference. Now, granted, if say you're like a 16, 17, 18-year old and you're dating what like a 90-year old, that's extremely weird and a little concerning, but I don't think age is like a huge gap. Like 10, like if say you're in your 20s and you're dating someone in 30s or even 40s, I won't find it that weird. Maybe that's just me, but yeah.
I'm with you. It's all about adult. If you're an adult, date
Yeah.
whatever you want, as long as the other one is adult as well.
Yeah.
Adult. That's the only thing that really matter. Um, yeah. Do you want to add more? Because I know I do.
um no. Now I'll let you go on and see if there's anything I'll add on.
So I can understand her point by saying, "Oh, it's because you can't get them," but that's like child plays there, because there's more reason to be angry at some. I will specify some, because I don't place every woman in the same bag. That's one thing I don't do. I don't place like uh, that person I know that started OF. I don't place her in the same bag as someone I could be interested to be with. I they are not the same people. So when she generalized that it's because you can't get the girl, no, it's just that sometimes we look at some of the girl and we are like, they don't respect themselves at all, and they expect us to respect them. Why should I?
Yeah.
That's that's kind of sad, because the way I truly feel is everyone deserves respect, but it's still gotta start with you. You need to value yourself so other can value you. That's really my thought process. But as I said, like if someone is acting like I don't know, like someone you don't like, don't force yourself into having exchange with that person. Just go your own way. Let that person do whatever he or she wants. That's how I see it. So you don't create conflict, you don't trade beef for nothing. So I think what angers a lot of men is the widespread thought process a lot of women have today. The modern woman herself is not as appealing as the traditional one. Let's be honest there. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy, but um, modern women they hate you. They hate men. That's what I think happens. So of course, if you're hated by the other gender, why would you care or like the other gender? You get what you receive. You receive what you get.
Yep. Yeah. Literally, I've been in that same position because last year when I said when I reported some bad people because of how weird they were, and yet literally later on, almost every single girl started to literally dislike me because of that. And I was like, if I'm just gonna be hated by girls, whatever. Literally, almost like a lot of the girls did not even like care about me, and I think at that point I started realizing, well, I'm basically enemy number one at that point, and all majority of the girls' mindset. So, yep. So I know how it feels to be hated upon by the opposite gender, um, for literally when you do nothing wrong. So, yeah.
Okay, so great. Do you have something else to add more? Because I feel like we covered a lot that question. Do you have something else you'd like to
Yeah,
share?
I just
Uh,
might have the opposite experience. Like I know, there are definitely individuals who hate other individuals. I've definitely done a lot to make people hate me, and I do feel like people have hated me unfairly. But I don't know. I can't just think that like all females hate males. And I understand like they were saying like modern female. So I guess I'd have to ask kind of what you're, or sorry, you said modern females. I guess I'd have to ask for like what you define as a modern female. Like, is it just somebody who's like really into that whole like third wave feminism thing with the whole patriarchy?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
okay,
She would be the modern. So I will. It's widespread. There's a big panel, and I maybe I will make you learn about something. But on dating app, I see a lot of these modern women. So I will give a few example of the modern ones. Um, a woman that's into polyamorous relationship, it's a big turn off for me. I'm not interested by that, and I see that so often. I feel like it's modern, and they see people as commodity. I'm deep down. That's why they feel like they need to sleep around and have more than one mate. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think some of the modern women are polyamorous there, and I
Hmm.
hate that thought process. I hate the fact that this thing exists. Do what you want on your
Okay,
side. I won't be angry. I won't create conflict with you because you do what you do. But I just don't like the idea. I just think it's not really healthy, not really good, because you need approval from more than one. That's what it
Hmm.
is like. Or you feel like bedroom fun is just something you can give away like to whoever wants it, and that should be more than just that. That should be about making a connection with people. And these polyamorous people, most of the time, they pretend to be intellectual, but it's not. Sorry, but you're just trying to hide the fact that you like to sleep around, uh, or
Fair enough. If that's like your distinction between like modern and traditional, I could totally understand what you're saying with that. I was just wondering because a lot of times people mean it's more like, traditional is like you stay at home with the children or something, you're not working, where like a modern woman could be, like possibly the breadwinner, like she might be making more than her spouse.
That kind of
I could
detail,
see
like
that as like someone's definition of a modern woman. It's like I would have no issue with that. Like
I
I don't care if a woman out earns me
yeah,
or whatever. But
I'm with you. So that's
but
one example among many, but I can give you another example among many.
hmm,
That person I used to know and I used to and like, and I don't anymore. I not the same way actually. Like I still care for that person, but I don't want, like, for example, if she comes back at me and say now I have feeling, I would say no thanks, I pass. But that person is another of these modern women because she has a OF account.
hmm,
Having a OF account makes you a modern woman for me because you don't value connection anymore. You're just like, oh, my buddy is free to give, or I should say, it's 4.99 to give. um, so
fair
they,
enough. If you're like literally talking about that one aspect, I could totally see that. I don't know. I mean, and again, maybe it's like a regional thing, but I think here, like people who consider themselves like progressive, like agree with like LGBT or whatever issues, would consider themselves like a modern woman or something like that.
it,
So I don't know. If you're just defining it that way, I could totally see what you're saying, and I could get on board with that. It does seem like a lot of that is not necessarily
I
pro men or looking for that equal partner.
I will give you another example. Okay. There was a coworker I used to have. Now she moved to Mexico, but Mexico, I should say. Um, I actually cared a lot about her. And she is the good type of modern woman. She values her body. She didn't sleep around. She had more than one boyfriend in the past, but she doesn't have like a body count of 20 at 20 years old. No, no, she was like in her 30s and she maybe had like body count of 5 or 6, relatively like me. So that's fine. I do think it's fine. It's also fine that you had more than one partner, but it's more like how you grow and change. And she was out earning her boyfriend. And I see that person. There was a few personality trait that turned me off, but it's not the aspect of her being very modern that turned me off. It's more like other stuff. But there are some modern women that are appealing more than others. But I generalize a lot there. And when I really say modern woman, it's more like the modern woman I'm not into. Like traditional. I
Fair
think there
enough.
was something
I think I
wrong
would have
back
those
then.
same preferences, but yeah, I was just wondering, like, if you're including some of those other people in modern, it's like there's some traits that women would definitely consider like this makes me a modern woman that I still do find appealing.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
if she's
sorry to
all
cut
in
you off.
for LGBTQ plus rights, that's something I like. I'm all in to defend that because they are human just like us. They deserve the same treatment as us. They deserve to be our equals, and that's how I see it. But then you got the others that are more extreme, and they're like everyone should be this way because it's wrong to be any other way. Then that's a
Yeah,
turnoff. Um,
for
you
sure.
need to accept the difference between people. You need to accept true diversity, like LGBTQ plus, straight, whatever. You need to accept both sides. Um, and some modern women go too far, and they will lean way too far in the progressive aspect. But then you have these well balanced girls that are progressive, but they know where to stop. I've seen another video. I hope I have shared it on my Facebook, but I have seen a video about progress. And progress, how it goes, you have a mountain, right? Uh, at first, you have like the side that's wrong there, and then you have progress where you keep going that way. Then you have a mountain. And then peak progress is when you reach the top of that mountain, and then it goes down because you regress and you push too far. The video pictured it much better than me, and I understood the video, but I just cannot regurgitate well what I learned from that video, but sometimes progress goes too far. Um, it needs right balance, the right amount. So yeah, for me, like traditional is more like really relationship driven. A girl that value men. I don't care if she earns more than me. It's I don't care if she has the same right as me. I want her to treat me as her equal and not her worst part or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
women, they undervalue men just because they're men. These modern women are as bad as the my midges my midget.
Misogynist.
Yeah, exactly the word I was trying to pull out, but it's all about balance. That's how I see it. So yeah, I will let you talk a bit more if you have more question about that thought process or about what I think.
No, I think you explained it quite well, and I kind of understand. I definitely don't disagree with a lot of what you were saying. I just wasn't sure by your definition of modern woman, because I could see a lot of people using that in a bunch of different ways. But I kind of agree with yourself. I wouldn't be interested in an OF creator, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested with someone that has self respect, and yeah.
And an incel, and I'll tell you what, none of this is productive or beneficial to anybody's mental health, and it doesn't do anything good for society at large. I personally have met tons of men at conventions who would be called incels or be accused of incellery, incelitude, whatever you would call it. But a lot of these guys that get this dangerous label slapped on them, they're really just harmless. They happen to be a little socially awkward. They don't really have much luck with girls, but that doesn't mean that they're bad people, and that definitely doesn't mean that they should be chastised for their inability to pick up chicks, because all that does is make them dislike other guys and girls even more. So men and women as a whole, we basically look at each other in two different ways now. The first being when we look at each other as commodities, as hookups, as late night booty calls. It's all just based on wanting to press the flesh. Or one of the sexes is essentially the reason for all the problems with the opposite sex. I wish I could solve these issues. I wish I even had an idea of how to make this better. But what I can do is give some recommendations to the folks that watch this channel and think that maybe Snarky J has a point. Ladies, we cannot have our interactions with men all circle around how hard we can make them chase us, how well we can play the game. If you want to be strong, independent, and alone, be that, but don't chastise people who want something else. And if you're the romantic, traditional wife type, don't chastise the women who prioritize a career. We can all live our lives and not harm each other in doing so. Fellas,
I think this is a perfect place to end this segment there.
Yeah.
Okay. It does give me one question, though.
Yeah.
So would it be more traditional to put up the chase, to like have that woman that wants to, have that whole chase, that weird game playing, as opposed to would it be more modern to say, like, here's what I'm interested, this is, I don't know, would being up front be more modern?
Yeah, I think being upfront would be amazing. So someone that caught the chase, I would agree with that person 100%. So that would be one of the modern trade that I consider fine if you caught the chase. Um, yeah, I does that answer well? What?
Sorry, I tried to unmute and I hit the wrong button. Yes, that totally answers what I was asking. I was just wondering because it kind of seems like the tradition is kind of more the chase instead of being kind of more upfront as to what you're looking for, which is kind of odd. And that could again be kind of regional, perhaps. It is a little bit more straightforward in other places, but I don't know. I was just wondering since you were kind of talking that you weren't interested in the modern woman. I was just wondering, that does seem like another one of those modern traits that I wouldn't be opposed to.
Me too. I'm on board with that modern trait. Like modern has a lot of good traits. I placed it really weirdly, but I think progress has made wonders. I also think it made destructive shit in the way of making wonders. Um, I'm fine with CEOs that are women. They have every right to be, like that. They deserve that kind of treatment because they've been oppressed for like centuries and centuries. They deserve the kind of chance we have. But yeah, um, some aspect of modern stuff is fine and other is just not. Uh, Being polyamorous is BS. Um, Hating the other gender because the other gender doesn't fit, or like we also got lots of modern women. The way they picture themselves, they're like, oh, I value, so the man must bring me money even if I do my own money. That's like the weirdest shit you can hear, but you hear it so often on TikTok and that kind of place that it's hilarious. It's just hilarious.
Well, I'm looking forward to kind of the upcoming an upcoming episode that we're doing with the red pill stuff because I'm kind of wondering, like, some of it is, I don't know if I'd call it like neo traditional, but like their ideas have like a kernel of like traditionality in it, but then it goes into the whole like I don't know, like the dating advice and stuff. I don't know that it. I'd be interested to hear your opinions on it if you view that as kind of more modern or if it is traditional. But yeah, that upcoming good times.
Yeah, red pill will be week 3, which is by the end of October. um, and week 4 will be conditioning, classic conditioning. That's psychology, and that's something I like a lot. And we will apply it in a bunch of stuff. And that will be week 4, which is like October or November, actually, November 1st, I believe, or 2nd. Maybe that week it will be like a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. Um, but yeah, what did you think of today's introduction to what we will be doing, starting with DC?
I definitely think it's a very good introductory to what we're gonna talk about. Because I always just thought it was gonna be like mental health, like related subjects, but I didn't know. And I thought when it comes to relationship stuff, it would have been like toxic or abusive relationships. And now I start to get the sense of what we're gonna get into. And yeah, I do think it's a very good introductory.
So as I said, like the three pillar, the way I see it, they will drive this podcast around, and that these three pillars, these three teams we will cover, they will be like at the core of what we are doing. And just like the Red Blue podcast, we will do different season. So when someone has to catch up, they can like simply go at the season of the podcast and click whatever they want. But the way I see it, we will do like 13 episode a season. Um, so we have 12 others. We have three pillars. So this means we will cover 4 times each season, each topic. So we will cover 4 times mental health, physical health, and stuff. Like burnout is a good example of physical and mental health because it's intertwined. Sometimes you will have like a burnout that is more physical, or sometimes your brain will be fried by it as well. Um, and red pill enters into society, which is our second pillar, and conditioning enters in psychology, which is the third, which is the mind. So yeah, we will build that. We will talk later about future episode after week 4. So great. What did you think of today's episode? What do you think of that project we got going on?
I think it's really exciting. I think it's really interesting to hear kind of your guys' opinions on it, and when Cole was here too. Just the way that you guys are kind of approaching these subjects are definitely different than me. I really like that. I kind of like understanding, what somebody else is thinking, kind of where they're coming from, and it's really cool to hear kind of your explanations. And I thought kind of a couple different times where you guys said your statement, like what you believe. I don't know, it kind of struck me a little bit off, like, I don't know that I could agree with you. And then, like, upon explanation of it, it's like, oh, yeah, we're just using slightly different terms. But yeah, I can understand why you're saying that. So I don't know. I just really look forward to what this podcast could be. I think this is a really cool idea. I like all those pillars that you have set for this. And there were some fun questions to ask, or to answer, I should say.
Man, I had a blast today. Thank you very much to the both of you. And I feel like we are ready for that adventure. If the both of you are willing to do it, we will do it weekly. And we will talk.
Sounds great.
We will talk in advance of the topics, and we will build it together because it's us three. And if you feel like you want to invite someone, just add him or her to our group chat on Discord, and maybe it will grow as big as the Red Blue one, and maybe we will end up making more than one chat, just like the Red Blue one. Because in case Graydon notices, but you're like in chat number 3, so that means we got like 2 other full chat. So my hope is this one goes as big, maybe bigger than Red Blue. I think this one is more important than Red Blue. Red Blue is my favorite, and I think it will always remain my favorite. But I think what we are doing right now is more important because we talk about people, society, and stuff that must change or stuff that must be understood. And I think we can really help out people.
Yep.
So yeah,
I think so. I think this is a fun journey. I'm excited to go on.
Yep.
perfect. So this is the end. I hope anyone that has been watching will like, comment, and subscribe. I'm wondering if any of you would like to add one last thing before we turn the plug for today.
Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah, just I'm excited for the next one. This seems like an awesome start.
Me too. As I said, feel free to invite anybody. And guys, take care. Have a good one, and we will talk later.
All right.